Chapter 401. Apart from Wang Damong, everyone's expression froze the moment the soul of the great empress shattered. F***ck, you bastard Jin Guang, what are you doing? Dr. Hai roared angrily as he looked at the fragments of the empress's soul falling from his fingers. At this moment Jin Guang was stunned. He didn't understand what was going on. He had only placed the soul of the empress in Dr. Hai's hands. Why did it suddenly shatter? Jin Guang, give me an explanation. Could it be that you really don't want the empress to resurrect? I'll treat the previous incident as an accident. How are you going to explain this time? Dr. Hai roared angrily. I don't know. I only placed the soul of the empress in your hand. At this moment, Jin Guang was on the verge of a mental breakdown. He didn't know what was going on today. Why did the resurrection that was supposed to be successful suddenly fail? And now, the fragments of the empress that were perfectly fine suddenly shattered. Jin Guang, you bastard! It turns out that you were up to no good and were waiting for an opportunity to kill the empress. You are so vicious. At this moment, Dr. Hai was filled with grief and indignation. Wait, I seem to have seen a golden wheel flash above your head and the soul of the empress shatter. Wang Damong, who couldn't stand it anymore, finally spoke. He wasn't trying to help Jin Guang, but simply couldn't stand it anymore. What golden wheel? I don't have any golden wheel. I seriously suspect that all of this was planned by this bastard Jin Guang. His goal was to kill the empress. Dr. Hai, who didn't know that he had the golden wheel of nether virtue protecting him, blamed Jin Guang, who was on the verge of breaking down. Wang Damong was speechless. All right, whatever you say, I won't speak anymore. At this moment, Wang Damong gave up. After all, he wasn't the one taking the blame. Jin Guang, you have to give me an explanation today. Otherwise, we won't be finished. Dr. Hai spoke again. Looking at the shattered soul of the empress, Jin Guang fell silent because he didn't know what to say or how to explain. Then die. As he spoke, Dr. Hai raised his hand and slapped Jin Guang. Jin Guang still didn't speak, nor did he resist. He slowly closed his eyes. After hundreds of thousands of years of waiting and planning, this ending was too hard for him to accept. To him, dying together with the empress might be a good ending. The palm struck golden light squarely in the chest. Suddenly, the surface of Jin Guang's body shone with an incomparably bright brilliance. The king's scepter in Tianlan's hand trembled continuously. Wisps of golden brilliance overflowed from it and flowed into Jin Guang's body, helping him resist Dr. Hai's attack. However, at this moment, golden light suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. He then cut off his connection with the Dark Sea King's scepter. His body began to drift erratically under Dr. Hai's attack. He could only hold on for a few seconds before shattering. Before he died, Jin Guang only felt guilty towards the empress and regretful that he couldn't see her again. Great Empress, I'm here. At this moment, the artifact spirit's soul body shattered with a loud bang, bursting into golden light that filled the sky. After Jin Guang's death, Dr. Hai's face didn't have a trace of happiness, nor did he have a trace of anger. There was only endless loneliness. He slowly knelt on the ground and carefully picked up the soul fragments of the Empress bit by bit. Other than the Empress, no one in this world understood him. He still clearly remembered the first time he pledged his loyalty to the Empress. Faced with the surrender of a ghost emperor, the Empress rejected him at that time. She said, "You're a good person. You shouldn't associate yourself with evil people like me. This isn't the path you should take." Whether he was a good person or a bad person, Dr. Hai was very clear. Before he met the Empress, he liked to do good and all beautiful things. However, he drifted in the sea and never had a true friend. In the underworld, the strong preyed on the weak. All the good people wouldn't have a perfect ending, except for him because he had great strength. Therefore, he didn't have a single friend. The people around him were all evil people who would do anything for their own benefit. The sea race that he was born into treated him as a secret weapon to expand the power of their race. They hoped that he would consider the future of their race and plunder and seize the territories and resources of other races. However, Dr. Hai rejected these requests of his people because he felt that he was a good person and didn't like to do such evil things. However, his people didn't think so. To them, Dr. Hai's kindness was foolishness and not so-called justice. Furthermore, he wasn't a good person. Although his people didn't say anything out of fear of his strength, Dr. Hai was well aware of all of this. Under the cold eyes of his people, he finally chose to leave his people and began his own wandering journey in the sea. During this period, he would also do good and help all the weak forces. However, not only did his actions not gain the gratitude of those weak forces, they eventually turned against him. 1 liter of rice was a favor, and 1 bucket of rice was an enmity. If one gave a small amount of help to another race in times of crisis, they would be grateful. However, if one gave too much, they would become dependent on Dr. Hai and even feel that his help was a matter of course. They even hoped that Dr. Hai could help them expand their power. Again and again, Dr. Hai was completely disheartened. Without a true friend, everyone prioritized their own interests. This was the law of survival in this world. He was a fish swimming against the current. He wouldn't have any friends, let alone his own kind. Living in such a world, Dr. Hai's kindness didn't diminish until he met someone, the Empress. During a war, the race that he protected was invaded by the Empress's army. Dr. Hai had originally planned to leave this race. Because this race was exactly the same as the race that he had helped before, his original intentions had changed. He was already disheartened by this race and felt that it was time to leave. However, after he left, the Empress came with her army of the Netherworld Sea to attack. At that time, Dr. Hai couldn't resist and chose to return to help this race resist the Empress's invasion. There was no suspense in this battle. Dr. Hai's strength wasn't a match for the demigod Empress. During the battle between him and the Empress, the race that he protected was destroyed. During that battle, Dr. Hai should have died, but the Empress didn't kill him. At that time, Dr. Hai was extremely shocked and couldn't understand why the Empress didn't kill him. He was very clear about the law of survival in the underworld. Even the most foolish person wouldn't let a ghost emperor go. However, the Empress did it. At this moment, Dr. Hai could still clearly remember the Empress's cold and arrogant eyes. She said to him, "Go, I won't kill you." In the face of death, although Dr. Hai was afraid, he still plucked up his courage to ask why. At that time, the Empress said something that he could still clearly remember. "You are a truly kind person. I have heard of your deeds. I won't kill you." That sentence shocked Dr. Hai greatly. He had never been recognized by anyone in his life, but now, he was recognized by the great villain who was famous in the 3 seas. After the Empress left with her army, Dr. Hai was still immersed in the Empress's words. At that moment, he was very confused. He couldn't understand why he didn't receive the recognition of all the races that he helped, but instead, he received the recognition of the great villain like the Empress. Why? While Dr. Hai was feeling troubled, he encountered 2 other things. After the race that he protected was destroyed, the remaining tribesmen found him. They angrily asked why Dr. Hai was still alive and why he didn't risk his life to protect their people. At that moment, Dr. Hai was silent. Although he was disheartened by this race, he still felt that he wasn't strong enough. However, Dr. Hai didn't think so after that. This was because the Empress's subordinate army actually recruited the remaining tribesmen to surrender. Furthermore, they received their endless gratitude and even kowtowed to them. He even heard the tribesmen's secret conversation. They felt that it was their race's fortune to be able to survive the hands of the great villain like the Empress and even be recruited to surrender. This matter was a huge blow to Dr. Hai. He couldn't understand why he didn't receive their recognition even though he did his best to protect this race. Even the fact that they were asking him for help became a matter of course. However, a person like the Empress, who had committed such a heinous crime and killed so many of their tribesmen, received their endless gratitude just because she recruited them to surrender. At that moment, Dr. Hai collapsed. Bullsh *T kindness, Bullsh *T fairness, Bullsh *T justice, they were all fake. From that moment on, Dr. Hai wanted to change. He wanted to become an evil person that everyone was afraid of, just like the Empress. After becoming an evil person, even if you didn't do anything, or even if you just passed by a certain race's territory, you would receive endless gratitude from that race because you didn't invade. However, when a good person passed by, that race would curse you for being a good person if you didn't give them any alms. This was the most realistic reality. In this world, if you wanted to have friends and be recognized, you had to become an extremely evil person. Dr. Hai felt that the so-called good people were fools and idiots. Therefore, from that moment on, Dr. Hai swore to be an evil person that everyone was afraid of, just like the Empress. After that, he sought out the Empress and pledged his loyalty to her. However, the Empress didn't accept it. She shook her head and replied with a smile, "You're a good person, I'm an evil person, we're not the same kind of people." After that, Dr. Hai didn't give up. He found the Empress again and swore that he would definitely become an evil person. In the end, the Empress still agreed. However, Dr. Hai knew that the Empress never believed that he was an evil person. Even every time the Netherworld Sea Nation expanded into foreign wars, the Empress never allowed him to participate. This included the Battle of the Sea Domain, the Battle of Baiki, and so on. The Empress always had an excuse. Every time it would be, "You have an important position in this war." He possessed the combat power of a ghost emperor, but the Empress never seemed to value him. However, gradually, Dr. Hai understood that the Empress had always been protecting his kindness. A person who had committed the most heinous crimes was protecting the last kindness of a fellow who wanted to become an evil person. This was the truth that made Dr. Hai feel the most ridiculous and helpless. The Empress was the person who truly understood him. Dr. Hai's subsequent evil deeds were for the Empress. He wanted the Empress to truly recognize him. He hoped to hear the Empress say, "We're the same kind of people." At that time, good and evil weren't important to Dr. Hai at all. He simply wanted the Empress to recognize him. At this moment, Dr. Hai was very serious about picking up the soul fragment of the Empress. His eyes couldn't help but turn red. "Am I so stupid that I can't even learn to be an evil person? If you can teach me personally, I will definitely become the greatest evil person." Looking at the blue crystal in his hand, Dr. Hai's tears fell. "No one understands me except you. I really miss you." Chapter 402. At this moment, Dr. Hai's sadness and despair were so real and contagious. He knelt on the ground and picked up the soul fragments of the Empress bit by bit, as if he was picking up his own memories. His expression was exceptionally serious, but it was also very sad. Looking at Dr. Hai, Wang Damong, who was about to speak, suddenly fell silent. At this moment, he realized that he didn't really understand Dr. Hai. He was a strong person, but he was very naive, like a child. The evil that he pursued wasn't purely evil, but merely to gain the approval of the person he loved. After drifting outside for hundreds of thousands of years, he returned this time. Although he came back to cause destruction, his eyes were always brimming with admiration and nostalgia whenever he talked about the Empress. Wang Damong still remembered that before entering the palace ruins, the seemingly indifferent Dr. Hai couldn't hide the excitement and anticipation in his voice. Looking at the sorrowful Dr. Hai, he didn't feel good. It was like a joke for the virtuous Dr. Hai to fall in love with an extreme, evil person. Wasn't this also a fairy tale? They were destined to not have a happy ending. Just like a hot flame falling in love with ice-cold water, The closer they got, the faster it would evaporate. It would only bring harm to the other party, and there would never be a possibility of them being together. However, Dr. Hai didn't know about this. He was still trying his best to get close to the Empress, foolishly thinking that he wasn't evil enough to gain the Empress's approval. At this moment, Wang Damong suddenly wanted to know what kind of person the Empress was and why she kept this flame that could possibly burn herself by her side. Did she really not know? Or was she really an evil person? The sparkling soul fragments flickered with blue light like dandelions at this moment. They slowly floated into the air and dissipated bit by bit in the air. At this moment, Dr. Hai wanted to reach out to grab them, but to his despair, he couldn't. Even though he was holding on tightly to the blue crystal fragments, they would still slip through his fingers. Why? Dr. Hai roared in sorrow. As long as the soul fragments were there, he still had hope of resurrecting the Empress. However, at this moment, his last hope was shattered. Dr. Hai used all his strength to grab at the fragments. At this moment, he seemed so helpless and desperate. When the blue crystal fragments completely dissipated, Dr. Hai sat on the ground dispiritedly. His face no longer had the optimism and smile of the past. Gone, everything is gone, hee ha ha. Wang Damong wanted to comfort Dr. Hai, but he didn't know what to say. Be a good man and lose people, friends. As a villain, he had lost the Empress who understood him the most. Dr. Hai was a lucky man, but also an unfortunate one, because his luck only belonged to himself. No one acknowledged him, and no one understood him, except for the Empress. Therefore, the Empress had become Dr. Hai's spiritual sustenance. The moment it shattered, sorrow and despair seeped deep into his bones. The soul fragments of the great Empress were slowly reforming in the 6 paths of reincarnation. Piece by piece, they were pieced together and repaired. Many memories were replayed in the Empress's mind like a slideshow. 460,000 years ago in the void ocean, a rain of blood rained down, covering the entire sea. At this moment, on a nameless island in the void ocean, a raging fire was raging. Cries, screams, and pleas for mercy were mixed together like a scene from purgatory. Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive. A rough voice came from the island. As his voice fell, the massacre became more thorough. At this moment, in a wooden house on the island, a little girl was standing on a stool and looking outside through the window. Her face was full of fear. Seeing her clansmen lying in a pool of blood with her own eyes, this 8-year-old girl was completely stunned on the spot. At this moment, the door was suddenly knocked open, and the little girl shivered in fear. Run quickly! Father! Seeing that it was her father who came in, the little girl burst into tears and ran towards him. However, she stopped immediately because her father was covered in blood. His ferocious face scared her. This didn't seem to be the father she knew. Run quickly, or it will be too late. The man shouted again with a ferocious face. Father! I'm scared, the little girl said timidly. This time, the man didn't say anything else. He reached out to grab the little girl and ran out of the house. It was chaos outside. Many houses were set on fire and there were ruins everywhere. Many clansmen were running for their lives, and some of the clansmen were fighting the invaders with all their might. After running for a distance with the little girl, her father suddenly stopped and put the little girl on the ground. Run, don't ever come back. With that, the man turned to go back. At this moment, the little girl grabbed the man's trousers and asked timidly, Father, where's Mother? Hearing this, the man stopped in his tracks and said, Mother and I will come to find you. Run first. With that, the man ruthlessly pried the little girl's hand away and ran towards the clan's land, leaving the little girl looking at his back helplessly. Father! I'm scared, the little girl murmured, and tears fell uncontrollably. In her fear, she finally mustered up the courage to turn around and start running. As she ran, it was as if there was an abyss behind her that was constantly spreading towards her feet, when the little girl ran to the seaside, she suddenly stopped. In front of her, there were 3 black and extremely ferocious-looking tusked battleships anchored on the shore. And on the beach in front of the 3 giant battleships, a bald man with many scars on his face was holding a transparent crystal ball and staring at her. His gaze was like that of a ferocious tiger, as if it wanted to devour her. She could not help but stop in her tracks, and her heart was filled with fear. The children of the Sea Spirit clan should be delicious. The bald man looked at the little girl and muttered to himself. At this moment, he changed his voice and muttered again, "Of course they're delicious. This is a clan that is more precious than the son of the sea, he." Then, a ferocious smile appeared on the man's face, and he walked towards the little girl step by step. The little girl was frightened and turned around to run. At this moment, the bald man's arm suddenly turned into a twisted tentacle, instantly binding the little girl and pulling her to his side. Looking at the bald man up close, the little girl's heart was filled with fear. Because of fear, she could not help but start sobbing. Seeing this scene, the bald man had a cruel smile on his face. He opened his mouth and gradually enlarged it, biting towards the little girl. Just when the little girl was terrified and thought that she was going to be eaten, she suddenly felt her body lighten, and then she saw the ferocious-looking bald man flying backward. "Yo, what a cute little girl!" Hearing the voice coming from behind, the little girl quickly turned around and saw a man with a turtle shell on his back and a very bright smile looking at her with a smile on his face. "Hey, who is it?" The man who was slapped away suddenly turned over from the ground and roared at the man with the turtle shell. "I'm Dr. Hai, a very good man." Dr. Hai replied very proudly. "I don't care who you are, leave now, or you will be regarded as an enemy of the Splitting Blade clan." The bald man replied with a cold expression, gritting his teeth. "What do you mean by enemies are no match for people? Why can't we just sit down and eat and chat? Why do you all like to fight and kill?" Dr. Hai sighed helplessly. Dr. Hai's words immediately stunned the bald man, and then he said, "Kid, what are you playing at? Do you really think that you can become an enemy of my clan just because you have some strength? Hey, you don't look like a good person, so I still have to punish you. Now look at my palm, don't you think it looks familiar?" Dr. Hai raised his hand and showed his palm. "What?" The bald man was stunned. "Don't you think that the size of my palm and your face is just right?" Dr. Hai grinned, and then with a backhand, the man from the Splitting Blade clan in the distance was slapped away again. After doing all this, Dr. Hai picked up the little girl and floated in the air. The little girl was a little at a loss and could not help but ask, "Who are you?" "I'm a very good person who likes to help others, Dr. Hai." The man grinned and said, "Can you help my father?" The little girl asked timidly. "No problem, I love helping others the most. Watch me beat them back." After saying this, Dr. Hai increased his flying speed and quickly flew toward the island. However, by the time they entered the island, the massacre had already come to an end, and the clansmen of the Sea Spirit clan had basically all fallen. Naturally, this included the little girl's father and mother. After Dr. Hai arrived, the invading Splitting Mouth clan were all beaten back, but the destruction of the Sea Spirit clan was already irreversible. The little girl saw her father again. At this moment, he was lying in a pool of blood, and his body was constantly trembling. The moment he saw the little girl, a trace of relief appeared on his face, and then he breathed his last before saying a word. At that moment, the little girl burst into tears. She had lost her family, lost everything. This kind of blow was extremely cruel to an 8-year-old girl, and she completely broke down. As the little girl hugged her father's body and cried, Dr. Hai came to her again. He stretched out his hand to the little girl. "Come with me in the future, I will raise you until you are an adult." From then on, although the little girl lost her parents, she had a big brother called Dr. Hai, a very good person who was called an idiot by others. Under Dr. Hai's careful care, the little girl finally walked out of the shadow of her parents' death, and became optimistic again. The little girl was full of admiration and attachment to Dr. Hai. However, her happiness was short-lived, because Dr. Hai said that he would only take care of her until she was an adult. She should have her own life, and not be with him, a guy who was called an idiot by others. He did not want to interfere with the little girl's future life. However, all of this was just a matter of course for Dr. Hai. In the little girl's opinion, she only wanted to be with Dr. Hai. She did not want to be with others, and she did not want to have her own life. Back then, the little girl was already slim and graceful, but in the face of Dr. Hai's decision, she still cried and threw a tantrum, waiting for Dr. Hai's nervous comfort as usual. However, this time, Dr. Hai did not. He entrusted the little girl to the Mu Te clan, a clan that was in the Void Ocean at that time, and never showed up again. Chapter 403. The disaster of the Nether Sea Kingdom soon ended, and Baki retreated. However, the Empress wasn't happy. She had done so many evil things. That good guy should have come to find her long ago, but why wasn't he here yet? He believed that as a descendant of the Sea Spirit clan and a talented cultivator, she would reach unimaginable heights one day. That day would be the time for the Mu Te clan to rise. Seeing Dr. Hai was the key to her becoming stronger, but now she had lost track of this goal. However, she didn't kill him. Even though she was already a bad person, he was Dr. Hai, a person she wouldn't kill no matter how much she hated him. According to the clan elder's description, she was a descendant of that clan. Under the rule of the Empress, all the sea clans in the Void Ocean that didn't submit were wiped out. Thousands of clans surrendered, and the chaotic Void Ocean was unified. The Empress was angry and confused about this. However, there was no news about Dr. Hai in the past 1,000 years. Since I can't find him, I want him to come and find me. In the days that followed, no one knew that this little girl used to have a beautiful name, Haiyu. Everyone only knew her as the Empress, and they also knew that she was a demon who would do anything to expand her power. So, she took action and beat up the man who had made her wait for more than 100,000 years. His hostile gaze made the Empress's heart ache. It was also at that time that the little girl, who had seen so much killing and competition between clans, made a decision that changed her fate. After understanding the little girl's background, the Mu Te clan elder told her a story. He nurtured the little girl carefully just for this moment. He wasn't a saint, and it was impossible for him to sacrifice selflessly. Everything was for the sake of this little girl. After that, endless foreign wars began. Countless sea clan forces crawled under her feet, trembling in fear, and her forces grew larger and larger. Just as the clan elder expected, the little girl from the Sea Spirit clan from the Central Sea region was extremely talented. She was even more talented than the legendary Sea Spirit clan. Did she forget about me? Faced with such a terrifying cultivation speed, the Mu Te clan elder made a request to the little girl. On the day she made her decision, the little girl told the Mu Te tribe that she wanted to start a war in the sea. She wanted to become the overlord of the sea and plunder all the wealth and resources of the other sea forces. At the same time, the elder warned the little girl not to reveal her identity, including to her own people. The elder knew how scary human greed was, and he knew how precious the little girl was. This time, the members of the Baki Divine clan came in person. Her love for Dr. Hai was as pure as Dr. Hai's love for kindness. In the story, this race was once extremely powerful. At its peak, it stood at the center of the Yellow Springs Sea, where there were many powerful races, and stood on equal footing with the top sea races. However, due to their special physiques, this race eventually reached the end of its path. They became treasures and elixirs that many peak sea tribes desired. The Empress, however, what she didn't expect was that Dr. Hai would visit her again and again, pleading to her that he wanted to be a villain. However, after Dr. Hai joined the Nether Sea Kingdom, the crisis came one after another. In the end, the enemy was so strong that even the entire Nethersea kingdom couldn't defeat them. However, she still didn't let Dr. Hai take action. She had waited for this moment for more than 100,000 years, and she had long since turned from a little girl into a great villain known to the world. So big that it couldn't even contain the entire sea. She wanted to look for him, but was stopped by the people of the Mu-Te tribe. Tens of thousands of years passed. The Mu-Te tribe, which used to live in a corner, expanded and became one of the strongest armies in the Nethersea kingdom. The Nethersea kingdom also became the overlord of the three seas. This was because she knew that Dr. Hai shouldn't be a villain. He just didn't get the understanding of others. He should keep his kind heart. At that time, the Mu-Te tribe elder smiled with relief. After that, the little girl began to cultivate hard. She worked hard to become stronger according to the cultivation method provided by the Mu-Te tribe. At that moment, excitement, anger, and surprise surged in the Empress's heart. After a brief moment of confusion, the little girl made up her mind. She wanted to become stronger. However, the Empress didn't feel happy because she was already a villain. Why hadn't he arrived yet? Although she became stronger and stronger, the little girl would often think of that big brother who was as warm as the sun. She missed him very much. In the end, this tribe was destroyed. All the members of the Sea Spirit clan escaped from the central sea of the Yellow Spring and scattered in different seas. Had he really forgotten about her? In response, the elder of the Mu-Te tribe began to investigate the little girl's background. However, what made her extremely angry was that, after more than 100,000 years, Dr. Hai had really forgotten about her. Therefore, after that, she established the biggest evil force in the three seas, the Nethersea kingdom. The people of the Mu-Te clan were also very surprised by this. Since the little girl was entrusted to them by Dr. Hai, they attached great importance to the little girl. The elders of the clan even personally found the little girl and examined her body. In the end, they came to a shocking conclusion. The elder of the Mu-Te tribe's decision was absolutely correct. The little girl grew extremely fast and made new progress every day. Step by step, she surpassed all the people of the Mu-Te tribe and became the most powerful person in the Mu-Te tribe. However, except for the elder, no one knew that she was a descendant of the Sea Spirit clan. This secret was never revealed until the day the elder died. With the help of the elder of the Mu-Te tribe, the little girl's realm rose rapidly and she quickly reached the Ghost Supreme Commander stage. In less than 100 years, she reached the late stage of the Ghost Supreme Commander stage. Even after more than 100,000 years, she still remembered the warmth of her childhood clearly. At that time, the hostility in the little girl's heart grew stronger and stronger. She couldn't understand why Dr. Hai would be so cruel. He abandoned her for 1,000 years and refused to see her again. The little girl might be a member of the Sea Spirit clan. This was because he was afraid that the greed of his people would kill them. It was better that they didn't know about it. This way, their tribe could survive better under the protection of the little girl. According to the elder, there might be a thin blood of the sea god flowing in her body. She was a true descendant of the god clan. Although the little girl didn't have to worry about food or clothing in the future, she would often think of that big brother. Although she would occasionally hear her people discussing the deeds of that idiot outside, he never came to see her again. It was as if he had long forgotten about her. All the people of the Mu-Te tribe had been waiting for this day for a long time. Now that the little girl had the strength of a ghost king, they were no longer willing to stay in a corner. The people of the Mu-Te tribe told the little girl that even if she found him, she would only be a burden to him because she didn't have the strength to match his. No matter how hard the little girl tried, she couldn't find out where Dr. Hai had gone. However, fate was unpredictable. This man whom she hated so much actually found her, and the reason was that he wanted to be a bad person. At the moment of life and death, the Empress thought of her big brother who had protected her and taken good care of her. However, What made the little girl sad was that no matter how hard she tried to cultivate, there was no effect at all. It was as if she wasn't suitable for cultivation at all. Therefore, she let Dr. Hai go and made preparations to never see him again. From then on, they would be strangers. After that, the elder looked through all kinds of books, and even specially went out to search for a suitable cultivation method for the little girl. He personally taught the little girl how to cultivate. The Empress was a little disheartened. This was what the little girl thought at that time. She wanted to become the biggest bad person so that the good person, who liked to punish evil, would come to find her personally. At that time, the Empress made a choice without hesitation, even if she knew that she might have to pay with her life. The main character of the story was the Sea Spirit clan. They were the descendants of a certain sea god and a race blessed by the underworld sea. Their bodies were the most precious elixirs, and they were the true sons of the sea. This was because there was no trace of familiarity in Dr. Hai's eyes when he looked at her. There was only anger and unwillingness. Time passed, but her feelings for Dr. Hai never changed. This kind of longing lasted for 1,000 years. During this 1,000 years, the Mu-Te tribe had become one of the strongest forces in the void ocean, with the little girl as their leader. When we were young, you protected me. This time, it's my turn. However, what the Empress didn't expect was that Dr. Hai would cause trouble for her again. He actually secretly went to Baiki and provoked the disaster of war again. At first, he thought that the little girl was just an ordinary member of the Sea Clan. However, at this moment, he began to ask about the little girl's background. He wanted to know where she came from. Even so, there was still a trace of hope in the Empress's heart. Perhaps he is in another sea and hasn't heard of my name yet? He likes to punish evil, do good deeds, and be a good person. Then, I will be a bad person, do evil things, and become the biggest bad person. I don't believe that he won't come to find me. In the years that followed, the little girl also had a new name. This name was stained with the blood of many members of the Sea Clan. It represented evil and chaos, as well as an incomparably powerful individual. The little girl might not know her value, but the elder of the Mu-Te tribe was very clear about it. However, the Empress still didn't see Dr. Hai. At that time, everyone thought that the Empress was forced to fight, but they didn't know that the god of Baiki, the northern spiritual realm, had asked her to hand over the person who repeatedly bullied her descendants and sealed her in ice. I am a god, and I don't want to bully you. Take my palm, and you will live. If you don't, you will die. Thus, the war in the void ocean began. After knowing that the Empress was the person he was looking for, the northern spiritual realm then said, this made the Empress feel extremely ridiculous. The little girl had always remembered the kindness of the elder of the Mu-Te tribe, so she agreed without hesitation. Therefore, she rejected him without hesitation because she knew better than anyone else that Dr. Hai was a really good person. In the face of the pleading Dr. Hai, the ruthless Empress finally agreed. She didn't agree to his request to be a bad person, she just wanted to keep him by her side. Therefore, she rejected him and told the northern spiritual realm that she was the one who bullied the ice. However, in the subsequent battles, she never asked Dr. Hai to fight. At that moment, the Empress knew that the biggest crisis had arrived. Therefore, she launched another war. She wanted her notoriety to spread throughout the sea until the good person found her. It was still endless battles, and the Nether Sea nation expanded crazily. Finally, she came to a conclusion that the girl was really a member of the Sea Spirit clan. Her idea was supported by the entire Mu-Te tribe. Bless the Mu-Te tribe for 10,000 years. This kind of expansion seemed to be the result of the Empress's crazy ambition, but only the Empress herself knew that she was only waiting for one person. That was the first time the little girl realized the importance of strength. The little girl didn't hide anything. Although she didn't know what the Sea Spirit tribe was and what it represented, she still described her childhood experience and the island she was on. What made her feel gratified was that Dr. Hai didn't change at all. He was still so kind and still sacrificed for others. Just when she was feeling disheartened and thought that she would never see the big brother who accompanied her when she was young again, she was surprised to see him during one of the expansion of the sea. Can I continue to be with Big Brother if I become stronger? Chapter 404. Empress, are you willing to come back to life? The voice was heard again, but this time, the voice was very deep. It was as if the voice had crossed the river of time, full of vicissitudes and vicissitudes. The Empress, who had understood the players, nodded. She finally understood why she had to be resurrected. After the marking was completed, a space tunnel appeared in front of the Empress, followed by a strong suction force. The suction force even offset the suction force from the 6 paths of reincarnation and sucked her in. Although she was a demigod powerhouse, she knew that she was nothing compared to the 6 paths of reincarnation. Under the 6 paths of reincarnation, even the gods of the underworld were just a drop in the bucket, no different from mortals. Therefore, the Empress was terrified when she heard that this was the 6 paths of reincarnation. Hundreds of thousands of years. The Empress's eyes widened. After digesting the information, the Empress opened her eyes and looked at Bailey. Her eyes were filled with astonishment. Apparently, this ability was beyond her understanding. Hi you, I don't need puppet warriors. I want a commander. I will give you freedom. Of course, this freedom is relative and not everything. You must live within my rules. Through the screen, the Empress could feel Dr. Hai's heart-wrenching despair. She could not help but tremble. Ask away. Bailey seemed to have seen through the Empress's thoughts and said, Empress, are you willing to come back to life? The Empress nodded solemnly after the last hesitation in her heart disappeared. Venerable One, I don't understand what this means. Although Lu Wu had enough soul coins in his storage, he did not intend to let the Empress participate in the war. He only wanted to help the players develop the power of the sea. Very good. Next, recite it with me. After reciting the Soul Allegiance Oath, you will belong to Boss Lu from now on, Bailey said cheerfully. Her voice became childish again, making the Empress feel very uncomfortable. Although Bailey could directly pull the Empress from the 6 paths of reincarnation into the artifact space, the soul of the Empress did not belong to the battle artifact after all. Pulling the soul of the outside world into the artifact space would cost extra soul coins, so it was best to save as much as possible. The Empress, who was suddenly awakened, became extremely serious and started to look around. But if he wasn't the great monarch, how could he possibly appear in the 6 paths of reincarnation? The Empress was completely stumped. If it was just for the sake of living, she would rather be controlled like a puppet. They're long gone. You've been dead for hundreds of thousands of years. The world has changed a lot. Bailey answered while eating. There's no such thing as a free snack in this world. You have to pay the price for what you want. Bailey continued. After reciting the soul oath, the mark of the artifact flashed across the Empress's forehead. At the same time, her soul was marked by the artifact, officially becoming one of Lu Wu's employees. Who's Boss Lu? The Empress was curious as she had heard this name a few times. Him? He's just a salted fish. Bailey gave a very appropriate explanation. Yes, if you're lucky, you might be able to see her again soon, Bailey answered honestly. There's a mistake. Wait a moment. The voice resounded in his mind again. At this moment, the Empress realized why she was here. It was obvious that her revival plan had failed. There was no need for this kind of consumption. Sigh, don't worry about her. I'll wash you now. I'll impart some knowledge to you. You'll know what you need to do later. In fact, she couldn't think of anything on her that the great Emperor would be interested in. Moreover, she was just a demigod, which seemed to be worthless to the great Emperor. Venerable One, forgive me for asking one last time. Can I see him again? Who's the enemy? The Empress asked again. After all, Dr. Hai was active in the nearby sea area. Lu Wu planned to recruit the Empress because of her understanding of the sea area and her familiarity with sea battles. Moreover, the area where the players were active was also the area where the Empress was active. Hence, the chances of meeting Dr. Hai again was very high. More or less, Bailey agreed without a care. Is this the great emperor? He's a little different from what I imagined. This is too much of a character. Could Boss Lu be the great emperor? The Empress couldn't help but ask tentatively. Previously, it cost tens of millions of soul coins to recast Sangshu's body. Naturally, the soul coins needed for this demigod-level body would increase exponentially. Even hundreds of millions of soul coins might not be enough. After all, a demigod was already close to the god level, which was worlds apart from the ghost emperor level. Looking at the stunned Empress, Bailey continued to speak. The Empress. After entering the 6 paths of reincarnation, the Empress's soul began to be reconstructed. Although the Empress was still puzzled as to why this person's voice sounded so childish, she didn't dare to ask. The Empress was stunned and immediately frowned. At this moment, the Empress finally understood what the players were and what the so-called development of the sea area meant. Although she was very happy that she was resurrected in Baiki, which was very close to the sea area that she used to rule, she still had a lot of doubts in her mind. How about it? Are you willing? I won't force you. The Empress was speechless. Obviously, he didn't need her to fight against other sea forces, but to help the players develop and let them grow step by step. At this moment, the mysterious image of the Venerable One had completely collapsed in her heart. Why did he look so weak? Ahem. I'm thinking, actually, I just wanted to ask if you want to be reborn. Is it important who I am? He doesn't want to lose you. This was because she guessed that the person who spoke in the 6 paths of reincarnation and affected her, who was already in a state of confusion, was probably one of the emperors in charge of the underworld. This sentence was better than 1,000 words of persuasion. It completely crushed the hesitation in the Empress's heart. Oh, I'm sick of it. Bailey mumbled with her mouth full of food. May I know who you are, Venerable One? The Empress asked again with extreme respect. Even so, Bailey still agreed with Lu Wu's decision. It's very simple. From now on, your soul will forever be under my control, and there's no possibility of you betraying me. At the same time, you have to do whatever I ask you to do. He's such a jerk. Not only does he hire child labor, he also exploits his subordinate. He makes hundreds of millions of souls work for him. There's nothing he won't do. Bailey was getting angrier as she thought about how she was interrupted by Lu Wu while she was eating and forced to work overtime. In the end, she couldn't help but stomp her feet. As she spoke, Bailey waved her hand and the artifact was activated. A huge amount of information instantly filled the Empress's mind. By the way, Boss Lu is busy designing new functions. I'll be in charge of you, Bailey continued. Her mood was extremely complicated at this moment. Since she was sent to work by the heartless Boss Lu before she could finish her snacks, Lil Bailey was not in a good mood. Who are you and where is this place? Venerable One, since I've stepped into the 6 paths of reincarnation, do I still have a chance to be resurrected? Although she was confused, the Empress still asked. After all, she was unwilling to reincarnate just like that. Don't be surprised. It's been hundreds of thousands of years anyway. You don't know their descendants anymore. You still have to beat them up. What? The 6 paths of reincarnation? The Empress was shocked at this moment. She felt that the owner of this voice did not have the demeanor of a venerable one. All right, I'll help you rebuild your body now. However, the stingy Boss Lu said that he can't afford to build a demigod-level body. I'll give you a body that can accommodate your soul first. You'll have to earn soul coins to upgrade yourself. At this moment, the Empress was even more confused. The Great Emperor had an army? Did the Great Emperor need subordinates? Did the Great Emperor need to start a war to expand? Even though she was only in the demigod level, she used to be the ruler of 3 seas. She had her own pride. "May I know who you are, Venerable One?" the Empress asked carefully. The Empress nodded. "Venerable One, how did the players occupy Baiki? What about the Baiki celestial clan? Also, what about the king of Baiki, the North Sea, and the 4 powerful clans under him?" As soon as he finished speaking, an image appeared in front of the Empress. It was the image of Dr. Hai kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly as he picked up the fragments of her soul. The Empress was dumbfounded when she heard this. "I have an army, but they lack experience in naval warfare. They don't know the tactics of the sea, so I need you to lead them and teach them the knowledge of naval warfare." The Empress was stunned again when she heard this. She felt that this emperor-level powerhouse seemed to be very casual. As if he could read the Empress's mind, the voice appeared in her mind again. "Actually, some of these so-called hostile forces are related to you. Many of them were separated from the Nether Sea nation after it was destroyed. If you want to count them, you can be considered as their ancestor. Oh yes, one of them seems to be a descendant of the Mute clan that you once promoted." Bailey squinted her eyes and smiled. Then, Bailey began to recite the soul oath. The Empress immediately followed suit. The artifact was also operating at this moment, continuously inscribing the Empress's soul. "This is the 6 paths of reincarnation world. Any further and it will be the death of reincarnation. Once you cross it, it will mean that you are done with this world and start a new life. Oh yes, let me show you something. Can you tell me what I need to pay first?" The Empress thought for a while and asked. The moment the soul was pieced together, the Empress opened her eyes in a daze and walked step by step toward the reincarnation world that was shrouded in mist. "I am willing to be loyal to the Venerable One and contribute my meager strength to the construction of the Venerable One's navy." At this moment, a childish voice suddenly rang in her mind, waking her up from her daze. Upon hearing this, the Empress frowned. After shuttling through the passage for a few seconds, her vision suddenly widened. In front of her was darkness. There was no light, but it felt extremely bright. Not far away, there was a little girl who was holding a bag of chips and stuffing food into her mouth. The past flashed in her mind like a slide, as if she was reliving her own life. The Empress was speechless. "Hey, why are you so slow? Can't you be more decisive? If you are willing to be resurrected, sign a contract to sell yourself to me and follow Boss Lu to make a fortune. If you are not willing, I won't force you. Just move on and start your next life." The little girl suddenly lost her patience. Although she respected the Empress very much because she was the great emperor, she would rather be reincarnated than become a puppet-like soldier for the sake of resurrection. "That's right. The Nether Sea nation that you created has long been destroyed. The sea region that you once ruled has once again become a state of separation. Therefore, I have resurrected you this time. Your mission is to lead the players to expand the sea region." Chapter 405. The Empress was surprised to hear Bailey talking about body reconstruction. She then asked, "Venerable One, what do you mean? Will the reconstruction of the body be incomplete?" "It's not incomplete. It means that your body realm can't be too strong. Otherwise, the consumption will be too great and Boss Lu will be distressed," Bailey explained seriously. "Isn't Boss Lu the great emperor?" the Empress asked softly. She obviously did not understand why a person with such great power would care about the consumption of a demigod's body. "Salted fish, it's a salted fish," Bailey corrected her with a serious face. "Bailey!" Lu Wu's roar suddenly rang in Bailey's mind. At this moment, Bailey mischievously stuck out her tongue. "I misspoke." While the Empress was stunned, Bailey spoke again. "All right, let's help you rebuild your body now." As she spoke, Bailey waved her hand and a standard white, work uniform appeared on her body. With a wave of her hand, a large amount of soul power surged and began to help the Empress rebuild a body that perfectly matched her soul. Bailey was very familiar with body reconstruction. During the process, she carefully measured the Empress' soul several times. After confirming that there was no problem, she officially started. A moment later, the new body was completed and the Empress' soul had officially integrated into the new body. During this period, Bailey shielded the internal space of the artifact to prevent a salted fish from peeping from the outside. After everything was done, the Empress was reborn. She did not feel unfamiliar with this new body at all. It was as if this body was her original body. The Empress was completely convinced by Bailey's miraculous ability. At this moment, she was very curious about the supreme existence of Boss Lu that the Venerable One mentioned. After helping the Empress rebuild her clothes with soul power, Bailey spoke again. "Get used to your new body. If there's anything else, ask quickly. I'll send you back to Bakey later. Venerable One, I want to know what the Nether Sea Kingdom has been through in the hundreds of thousands of years since my death. Also, what has Dr. Hai been doing all these years?" Upon hearing this, Bailey could not help but smile. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes," the Empress nodded without hesitation. Bailey did not say anything else. With a thought, a video appeared in front of the Empress. The scene depicted Dr. Hai and Wang Damong talking about the past. Dr. Zhong Hai explained why the Netherworld Sea Kingdom was destroyed and what Dr. Hai had been doing for the past hundreds of thousands of years. Listening to the description of the Zhong Hai doctor, the Empress's expression gradually became gentle. Especially after knowing that Dr. Hai wanted to be a great villain for her, she was incomparably moved. But gradually, she could no longer be moved. She clenched her teeth and her face turned ashen. "I think it's all the Empress's fault. If not for her, the Nether Sea Kingdom wouldn't have been destroyed." She's indecisive. This isn't like the Empress. Although she's very strong, the decision she made was really too unwise. She refused to accept my many suggestions. "I'm so angry. The Nether Sea Kingdom is destroyed in the hands of this wastrel. What a pity! Dr. Hai!" The Empress couldn't help but shout. She sacrificed her life for Dr. Hai. To Dr. Hai, all the mistakes were actually caused by her. At this moment, the Empress really wanted to grab Dr. Hai and give him a good beating. It turned out that all her efforts were in vain. After knowing that it was Dr. Hai who disbanded the Nether Sea Kingdom and even gave away all the spiritual materials for her resurrection, the Empress was incomparably furious. No wonder everyone called him an idiot. He's indeed incomparably stupid. The Empress gritted her teeth at this moment. The more she watched, the angrier she got. Especially after seeing Dr. Hai ruin her resurrection plan, the Empress even felt like vomiting blood. Did he have to cheat her like this? But as she watched, the Empress was moved again. Finally, she saw Dr. Hai kneeling on the ground and picking up the fragments of her soul. At this moment, she also knew that Dr. Hai had fallen in love with her. Although he didn't love the Hai Yu of the past, the Empress still felt incomparably warm. The Hai Yu of the past was just a passerby in his life. Perhaps she was just an insignificant person among the people that this good man helped. Time had long diluted his memory of Hai Yu. However, the Empress was different. Dr. Hai's companionship in her youth was unforgettable. At that time, she treated him as her only support. Therefore, even after more than 100,000 years, she didn't forget him. Everyone didn't understand Dr. Hai's kindness, but she did. It was also this understanding that made Dr. Hai fall in love with her and feel that she was someone who truly understood him. After the video finished playing and knowing everything, the Empress couldn't help but sigh. She had hatred and love for Dr. Hai. At this moment, her feelings were incomparably complicated. "Do you have any ideas?" Bailey, who was at the side, took out an ice cream from nowhere, licked it, and asked. "Catch Dr. Hai and give him a good beating," the Empress said fiercely. "But you only have the strength of a ghost commander now. You can't beat him." Bailey continued to ask curiously. "Make him stand there and let me beat him up without retaliating." The Empress continued to clench her teeth. Sometimes I've thought of that too, Bailey suddenly said. The Empress was stunned and didn't understand what she meant. Boss Liu, sometimes I also want him to stand there and let me beat him up. Unfortunately, he refuses. How petty, Bailey shrugged helplessly. Upon hearing this, the Empress was stunned. After all, in her opinion, the boss Liu that Bailey mentioned should have the image of an incomparably dignified emperor. Why did Bailey always describe him as a downright bad guy? Curious, extremely curious. Unfortunately, she knew that she wouldn't be able to meet the almighty person behind the scenes. Everything's done. It's time for me to go for dinner. I'll send you back to Bakey now. Remember, put yourself in your shoes and understand where your responsibilities lie. As she spoke, Bailey waved her hand and created a space tunnel. Upon hearing this, the Empress nodded solemnly and stepped into the space tunnel. At this moment, a server announcement rang in the minds of all the Bakey players. Server announcement. New Navy Commander NPC Hai Yu has officially joined the Bakey player camp. Hai Yu, Middle Stage Ghost Commander. NPC Main Area. Near Liuli Coast, Underworld Sea NPC function, possesses a huge reserve of knowledge about the sea. Players can ask this NPC for relevant knowledge about the sea. Players can also spend soul coins to ask for Hai Yu's help to provide a battle plan when the sea war starts. As the server announcement rang, the figure of the Empress walked out of the space tunnel and appeared at Liuli Coast. Stepping on the beach of Liuli Coast, the Empress looked in the direction of the sea and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Dr. Hai, wait for your death. Chapter 406. After the game announcement, the Bakey players were in an uproar. They were not only surprised by the appearance of the new NPC, but also by the uniqueness of this new NPC. This was because this was the first combat NPC in the game. Previously, although powerful NPCs like Tong Gua and the Rock Ghost King were powerful, their main role was to support and promote the development of life classes. However, in the introduction of this new NPC, this sea commander did not have any life skills. All she had was the ability to fight in the sea. This surprised the players greatly. Many Bakey players even thought that the officials heard their voices protesting the strengthening of the sea in the forum and specially created the appearance of this new NPC to help them speed up the development of the sea forces. On this day, the players who were staying in Bakey or drifting in the sea in search of opportunities all rushed toward the Liuli coast. They wanted to see if this new NPC was as powerful as the introduction said. There were even many players who wanted to gain some affinity with the NPC. After all, having a high affinity with an NPC would be beneficial to them. For example, the few people who had a good relationship with Tong Gua were now equipped with epic-level weapons. Hence, a large number of players swarmed toward Bakey. However, when the players arrived, they realized that the Empress was no longer at the Liuli coast. The confused players searched the entire Liuli coast, but they couldn't find any trace of this new NPC. However, the players did not give up and continued their search in the direction of Bakey. In the end, they encountered the 9 Luminaries brothers on the way and almost experienced another annihilation. This made the players extremely depressed. They could not understand where the new NPC had gone to. The forum even started to discuss about this matter. Shueli_the_strongest. Has anyone seen the new NPC? Post a picture and let me see if the new NPC is good looking. If he's good looking, I'll go and gain affinity, hehe, blinking and hitting the wall. Could this NPC be like the mysterious NPC in the game, the mysterious merchant? Players have to find him on their own and then trigger a reward? Having a cat is awesome. After hearing what the above poster said, I'm suddenly interested. Back then, in order to meet the mysterious merchant, I traveled all over the mountains and rivers of Bakey. When we finally met, he gave me a lot of discounts, hehe, the greatest idiot of Bakey. Speaking of which, does this new NPC know where the treasures and ruins are in the Void Ocean? Crayon Shinchan. I think she's the second Tong Gua, the kind that doesn't do proper work every day. She must be out fooling around now, laughing emoji. Farmer's three fists. If the new NPC is like Tonghua, I'll definitely beat him to death. It's the cruel kind, serious face. Invincible_loneliness. Where did the new NPC go? I was just about to ask about the underwater whirlpool in the east of the Void Ocean. Watermelon_Taro. Battle official. Our NPCs are just like that. You can find them if you can, but if you can't, go eat sh*t. Uninstall the game if you can. Arrogant face. Crayon_Shinchan replied to Watermelon_Taro. It vividly depicts the ugly face of the dog officials. We must firmly protest to the end and overthrow the rule of the dog officials. The battle belongs to the players. Laughing emoji. Peppa. I've reported the comments above. Please reward me with godly equipment. If I don't have godly equipment, 1,000,000 soul coins is still acceptable. Laughing emoji. At this moment, the forum of the local server was bustling with activity. Apart from the normal forum, many players were discussing the whereabouts of the new NPC who had disappeared. Soon, not only the forum of the local server, but even the forum of the European server was bustling with activity. A group of European server players began to protest. They felt that it was unfair. Just like Baiki, the east of them was the sea. They were also developing their forces in the sea. Therefore, they felt that it was very unfair that only the local server had a navy commander. As for the protest of the European server players, the players of the local server could not wait to explain before Lu Wu, the official of the European server, started to explain. For example, our forces in the sea are much stronger than yours. You haven't developed to the point where you're assigned an NPC of that level. For example, why does the European server have to have what we have in Baiki? You can exchange it with the Evil King if you have the ability. For example, no matter how much you say, we'll have a naval battle. The winner will talk and the loser will lie down. Due to the appearance of the new NPC, it was only the Baiki players and the European server players who were arguing with each other. Gradually, the players of Naraka and Asia joined in. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry at their comment. For example, a player from Naraka said, "Why doesn't the Naraka server have a sea? I want to add a sea scene. I want to go swimming, I like the beach." For example, a silly netizen from the Asia server said, "Why doesn't the Asia server have a navy commander? Can't we have this NPC if there's no sea?" I protest, I refuse to accept it. We must have what they have, but they can't have what we have. Wait a minute. Due to the birth of the new NPC, the Empress, the conflict between the four servers escalated. Starting from accusing each other of having resources that their servers did not have, the conflict continued to intensify. In the end, the players of the four servers started to act pitifully again. They described the miserable state of their servers in various ways in the forum, hoping for the officials to strengthen them. They even hoped that the officials would speed up the development of their servers. Lu Wu was already used to the players' pitiful behavior. Naturally, he chose to ignore it. After all, there were too many pitiful players. The content of their pitiful behavior was even more varied and all-encompassing. For example, their class was too weak and needed to be strengthened. For example, they did not have enough soul coins to spend and hoped to receive 100 soul coins every day. The only thing that Lu Wu could not think of was the pitiful behavior of the players. However, this method of pitiful behavior might work in other games. Many game developers would compromise and make slight concessions to modify the relevant content of the game. However, the result of pitiful behavior in the war was always ignored. Although the players knew that their efforts were futile, they still tried their best to act pitiful. This was because they were looking forward to the day when the official website would really compromise. Although the probability was very slim, as long as there was a first time, there would be a second time, then a third time, a fourth time. Therefore, the number of players' pitiful behavior had never decreased. As for whether the class was pitiful or not, it was better to act pitiful first. What if the official website saw so many people saying that the class was pitiful and really thought that it was pitiful? Then, they would backhandedly strengthen the class. This was the players' psychological attack tactic. They tried to break through Lu Wu's psychological defense and give the official website a false attack. They tried to make him have the wrong idea in order to gain their own benefit. However, Lu Wu had already seen through everything. After all, Lu Wu, who had the artifact in his hand, had completely controlled the souls of all the players. By using the artifact to investigate, not only the thoughts of the players, but also the exact number of years, months, days, minutes, and seconds when they were born could be clearly seen. This was the power of intelligence. In the face of the mysterious official website, the players knew nothing. However, the official website in their eyes knew everything about their actions, thoughts, and so on. Therefore, this kind of pitiful behavior of the players was useless against Lu Wu. Lu Wu even felt like laughing. He was still too young. At this time, in the direction of the Void Ocean, the NPC, the Empress, who was regarded as a missing person by the players, was walking on the waves, flying in the direction of the inner sea of the Void Ocean. Although she did not know where Dr. Hai was now, the Empress was suppressing her anger at this moment. She just wanted to catch Dr. Hai and give him a good beating. After knowing many truths from Bailey that she did not know before, the Empress had already understood how badly she had been tricked by Hai Daofu. At this moment, the Empress's heart was filled with resentment. Now, she just wanted Dr. Hai to stand at attention after receiving a beating. While walking on the waves, the Empress sighed in her heart. The strength of a ghost commander made her feel that she was too weak, even in a hurry. However, she did not have the intention to earn soul coins to become stronger. She planned to find Dr. Hai first. Hey, look, there's a super beautiful woman walking on the waves on the sea. At this moment, several exclamations came from afar, causing the Empress to frown slightly. She turned her head to look to the right and immediately found a black warship. The warship's design was very strange. There were all kinds of decorations hanging on the warship, and there were many strange patterns on the hull. Among them, the largest one was the pattern of a ferocious burning devil, and below it were two big words. Demonic God. Demonic God? Seeing these two words, the Empress's expression froze. How could she not know about this god that was sealed in Baiki? Looking at the warship approaching slowly, the Empress also stopped running and hovered above the sea, wanting to see what the other party's purpose was. When the warship approached the Empress leaped from the surface of the sea, lightly tapped the hull twice, and jumped onto the deck of the warship. Seeing that the Empress actually boarded the warship, the players of the Demonic God Guild were a little shocked. Huh? Commander of the Navy? It's you. After seeing the Empress's analysis menu, the players of the Demonic God Guild were shocked. After all, this new NPC was too mysterious. Until now, no players had seen her. What was even more unexpected was that this new NPC turned out to be a stunning beauty. After discovering that the people on the warship were players, the Empress's expression softened. She knew her mission and knew that she was bound to the same boat as the players from now on. What's the matter? The Empress asked at this time. Hearing this, Ansheng and the others smiled awkwardly. At first, they thought that she was a native and wanted to strike up a conversation, but they did not expect to meet their own NPC. Naturally, they dared not continue to be presumptuous. After all, they had not paid off their previous crimes. If they provoked another NPC, they would not be able to survive. At that time, they thought of their petty tricks to deceive a large number of players to go to the Gillfish Island. Although it was fun for a while, it was followed by the suppression of various forces. Among the players who were deceived, some of them had already established certain forces in the game, and the suppression of the Demonic God Guild had never stopped. Thinking of this, Ansheng and the other players of the Demonic God Guild felt bitter. They regretted what they had done. Ever since the malicious deception on the Gillfish Island, The demonic god guild had turned over a new leaf. They no longer caused trouble, and only wanted to be a good person. They even hoped that the old players would quickly forget about that incident. Looking at the puzzled Empress, the members of the demonic god guild suddenly had the idea of making a good impression on her. After all, befriending an NPC was still very useful in the game. For example, Tonggua's few buddies were all doing well. Where are you going? Do you want us to give you a ride? And Sheng, the guild president, asked with a smile on his face. Do you know Dr. Hai? Do you know where he is? The Empress could not help but ask. Dr. Hai? Is he that eunuch Hai? Hearing the Empress's question, and Sheng and the others were very surprised. They immediately thought of the turtle-shelled man who had deceived their players in the Kuelong Ocean recently. Eunuch Hai. The Empress was stunned. Obviously, she did not understand why Sheng and the others addressed Dr. Hai as Eunuch Hai. As if sensing the Empress's confusion, Sheng quickly explained, This Dr. Hai is Eunuch Hai. This Dr. Hai is Eunuch Hai. He's simply an old bastard who has committed all sorts of evil deeds. Recently, he's been targeting us players, sending many players back to Beiki from Kuelong. After that, we called him Eunuch Hai based on his name. Although the Empress did not understand why they addressed him as Eunuch Hai based on his name, she still nodded. Then do you know where he is? Yes, he is in the Kuelong Ocean. And Sheng immediately answered. Thank you very much. After knowing Dr. Hai's whereabouts, the resentment in the Empress's heart resurfaced. Immediately, she walked to the edge of the ship and was ready to jump off. At this moment, Sheng and the other members of the demonic god guild suddenly surrounded the Empress and prevented her from leaving. Lord Commander, why don't we send you there? Looking at the faces of the demonic god guild full of anticipation, the Empress was a little hesitant because the flattering attitude of Sheng and the others made her very uncomfortable. She felt that they were up to no good, but in the end, she still nodded. Yay! The members of the demonic god guild immediately cheered. At this moment, the game notification sounded. Game notification. The members of the demonic god guild have obtained the favorability of NPC Hai Yu by 1. Upon hearing the game notification, the expressions of the members of the demonic god guild who wanted to gain favorability instantly froze. At this moment, they were dumbfounded. They did not understand why their eagerness to provide help reduced their favorability. What the hell was wrong? Bootlicker, in the end, you will have nothing, Fatty said faintly. F***ck, and Sheng was embarrassed after hearing this. Boss, what should we do? Fatty continued to ask in the guild live chat channel. Continue to bootlicker, in the end, you will have everything. Don't abandon, don't give up. Bootlicker to gain favorability, happiness, and a future. So, all of you bootlicker. And Sheng glared. The members of the demonic god guild were speechless. Hence, under the astonished expression of the Empress, the members of the demonic god guild surrounded her and began to inquire about her well-being. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you cold? While the members of the demonic god guild were on the verge of breaking down, the game notification continued to sound. Favorability-1 Favorability-1 Favorable Impression-1 At this moment, the Empress really wanted to kill someone. If this wasn't the first time she came into contact with players and she knew that she would always be on the same side as them in the future, given her character, she would have already started a massacre. In the end, the Empress could not take it anymore and finally made a move. She beat all the youths from the demonic god guild to the ground and gave them a good beating. At this moment, the youths from the demonic god guild were lying on the ground with bruised noses and swollen faces. All of them were on the verge of death. Boss, I can't continue to lick anymore, Fatty said in the live chat channel while gasping for breath. Boss, this new NPC is too difficult to lick. Why don't we give up? One of the guild members said in a sobbing tone. Upon hearing the guild member's words, Anxing glanced at the Empress again and asked tentatively in the live chat channel, "I think our method of licking is wrong. I think our method of licking is wrong. Should we try another method?" Chapter 407. At the border of the Void Ocean, a black warship sailed through the waves, heading toward the Kuelong Ocean at high speed. On the warship, the youths of the Demonic God Society were squatting on the deck with their hands on their head. At this moment, they didn't dare to resist because the Empress was a demon in their eyes, a particularly violent one. "Boss, I can't see anymore," Fatty, who was squatting on the floor, said. His face was extremely swollen and covered his eyes, leaving only a small gap. He looked extremely miserable. Stop licking. If you continue, we will return to Bakey," Seven protested. "Why are you guys so weak? We are the Demonic God Society, the future #1 guild in Bakey. If we befriend this new NPC now, we will definitely benefit a lot in the future." And Sheng, the guild leader, said with a look of exasperation. As he spoke, he pulled on his wound and grimaced in pain. Fatty heard him and looked at Anxing with despair in his eyes. "Boss, we've already boosted our favorability to disgust. If we continue to bootlick him, we'll probably be hunted down. Can't you be more reliable? Why do you always bring up ideas that lead us into a pit?" That's right. The guild members agreed in the live chat channel. "I'm the guild leader. Listen to me. We must be licking her the wrong way. Maybe we can change it." The Empress glanced at the youths of the Demonic God Society with indifference. She had seen too many of these fawning gestures. When she was ruling the 3 seas, these people would come to her every day. Compared to the Demonic God Society, they had more ways to lick her. She had seen all kinds of fawning methods, such as sending treasures, high-level spiritual materials, spiritual ores, rare treasures, providing information, and so on. The Empress only had one thing to say to the youths of the Demonic God Society. "This batch of fawning dogs is too lousy. Not only are they unoriginal, they are also not up to standard." In the past, she could kill hundreds of these fawning dogs in a day. The Empress, who didn't want to bother with the people of the Demonic God Society, walked to the bow of the warship and sat on a chair beside the wheel. She leaned back on the chair and crossed her right leg over her left. Then, she looked up at the direction of the Kuelong Ocean and smiled. "Kuelong Ocean, your Empress is back." When the Demonic God Society's warship sailed into the Kuelong Ocean, the low-pressure dark clouds dispersed. The color of the seawater became clear and bright with a faint blue glow. Warm sunlight shone down from the sky and shone on the Empress's face. She squinted her eyes and lazily reclined on the chair. "We have already entered the Kuelong Ocean. Where is the sea? Eunuch Hai that you mentioned?" Upon hearing the Empress's question, Anxing quickly stood up, trotted to the Empress's side and said, "He's probably wreaking havoc in this area. I don't know exactly where he is right now, but I'll help you find out some information. Please wait for a moment." As Anxing spoke, he opened the regional chat channel and began to check the chat history of the players in the Kuelong Ocean. He wanted to see if there were any clues about Dr. Hai's location. However, as soon as he opened the live chat channel, he saw a series of notifications. "Attention! Attention! Eunuch Hai's coordinates are XX, XXX. Everyone, don't go there. This lunatic is targeting us players. I give up. I just caught a spiritual fish, but before I could keep it in the channel, I was beaten up by Eunuch Hai who flew out of nowhere. What's more infuriating is that the spiritual fish is gone too. When did this person appear? Is he crazy? I was roasting turtle eggs on the beach of Wanderer Island and was about to have my lunch when he beat me up too. This is nothing. Our guild was just harvesting seaweed to make it into food to be sold at the auction house. In the end, we were all killed by Eunuch Hai's super long-range skill. We didn't even see where he was, but the game notification said that he was killed by Dr. Hai. In the end, I was the only one who survived. This person is really a lunatic. Everyone, let's form a team to beat him up. This bastard, damn eunuch high, is too lawless. If I could defeat him, I would have beaten him up into a pig's head. Unfortunately, his strength is at the advanced Ghost Emperor stage, which is similar to Mu Zhiguang's strength back then. What are we going to use to beat him up? I only hate myself for not being strong enough. You guys continue to roam the Kuelong Ocean. I'm going back to the Void Ocean to look for treasures. Goodbye. From the regional chat channel, it could be seen that Dr. Hai, who was wreaking havoc in the Kuelong Ocean, was giving the players a hard time. Furthermore, it was Dr. Hai who took the initiative to provoke him. Even if the players knew that they couldn't afford to offend him, they couldn't hide from him either. Therefore, a large number of players prepared to retreat. However, the coordinates that the players sent to each other in the chat channel were exactly what Enxing needed. He immediately informed the Empress of the marked location in the regional chat channel. Upon hearing this, the Empress nodded slightly and said, "I got it. Commander, why do you want to look for him? He's not to be trifled with. Furthermore, your strength is only at the Ghost Commander level. If you meet him, you won't be a match for him." And Xing couldn't help but kindly remind her. "Don't worry, he won't dare to touch me," the Empress replied nonchalantly. Favorable impression +1 inch, huh? The appearance of the game notification made all the members of the Demonic God Guild, who were pretending to be on their last breaths, raise their heads, and their eyes became even brighter. "Do you need our help? Although our guild isn't strong, we can still be of some use." And Xing was ecstatic and quickly struck while the iron was hot. "No need, I won't fight him." Favorable impression +1 After gaining favorable impression once again, the members of the Demonic God Guild immediately became spirited. Seemingly understanding that this new NPC didn't like ardent flattery, and Xing changed his plan this time. He didn't say anything else and decisively changed the direction of the warship, heading toward the sea coordinates where Dr. Hai was located. Upon seeing this scene, the Empress was a little stunned, and her favorable impression of him increased once again. In fact, she didn't have any hatred for the Demonic God Guild. Previously, she just felt that these players were too annoying, and they were so noisy that she couldn't calm down and think. However, this was only a temporary decrease in favorable impression. Therefore, in this kind of silence, the members of the Demonic God Guild realized that this new NPC's favorable impression of them was slowly rising. This was undoubtedly a huge surprise. The warship continued sailing. After a few hours, the warship finally sailed into the sea coordinates, which was the area where Dr. Hai was located. At this moment, Enxing turned to look at the Empress and said, "Commander, this should be the area. I'm not sure where Eunuch Hai is exactly, so we have to look for him." Upon hearing this, the Empress stood up, looked at Enxing, and replied, "All right, I'll look for him myself. All right, I'll look for him myself. You guys don't have to follow me." As she spoke, the Empress took out a fruit that she had picked at the bottom of the Void Ocean from her space, and tossed it to Enxing. "This ice frost fruit is my reward for sending me here." After saying this, the Empress didn't wait for Enxing's reply. She took a few steps forward and then leaped into the sea. Game notification. All members of the Demonic God Guild have received Hai Yu's favorable impression of them +150. They have reached the friendly level. Upon hearing the game notification, all the members of the Demonic God Guild were stunned. At this moment, the guild members who were pretending to be on the verge of death also leaped up, surrounded their president, Enxing, and began to size up the fruit in his hand. Ice Frost Fruit, Special Spiritual Material. Introduction of Spiritual Material, one of the special fruits that can only be found in the depths of the Void Ocean. It contains powerful ice attribute energy. Effect of Spiritual Material, edible. There is a 23.74% chance of developing ice attribute supernatural ability. There is also a high chance of being attacked by ice and entering into a negative buff state. Lasts for 3 days. Effect of spiritual material 2. Can be used to refine ice attribute medicines and elixirs. It can also be used to neutralize the effects of fire attribute spiritual materials. Effect of spiritual material 3. Can be used to forge ice attribute equipment. Effect of spiritual material 4. Can be used to cultivate ice attribute spirit beasts. Function not unlocked. Upon seeing the attributes of this ice frost fruit, Ansheng and the other members of the demonic god guild couldn't help but smile. This was because they knew that their previous efforts weren't in vain. Moreover, they didn't just gain this ice frost fruit. More importantly, they gained the favorable impression of this new NPC. This might be of great help to the development of their guild. Looking at the guild members surrounding him, Ansheng was full of pride at this moment. President, you're so awesome. You even gained a favorable impression of such a difficult NPC. No wonder you're our boss. You're so far-sighted. You managed to gain a favorable impression of him. Boss, you're really the best bootlicker in our demonic god guild. Upon hearing the flattery of the guild members, Ansheng's happy expression gradually froze, and he couldn't smile anymore. He didn't know why, but he felt that he was being scolded instead of praised. Shut up, all of you! Finally, Ansheng couldn't take it anymore and roared. The guild members immediately stopped praising him. All right, let's return to the Void Ocean now. This area of the sea is very unsafe now. We might be killed by Dr. Hai for no reason. If we're killed and return to Beiki, it'll be difficult for us to go out to sea again. It's not that easy to escape from Brother Jiao's trap, Ansheng spoke again. Upon hearing this, the members of the guild couldn't help but nod in agreement. After all, they had heard a lot about Eunuch Hai's notoriety recently. Everyone in the demonic god guild was afraid of him. In particular, Eunuch Hai's inexplicable killing skills had been rumored to be miraculous in the players' circle. Then, Ansheng began to change the direction of the ship, preparing to head toward the Void Ocean. F***CK, there's a meteorite! At this moment, Fatty and the team suddenly let out a shriek. The members of the demonic god guild were shocked. They quickly turned their heads and looked in the direction that Fatty was pointing at. Suddenly, they saw a huge burning rock streaking across the sky and falling toward their warship. Rolling heat waves and a huge sense of oppression hit them, and the members of the demonic god guild were stunned. Boom! The demonic god warship was smashed by the huge rock, and the members of the demonic god guild were smashed into black mist by the huge rock. As the screen gradually dimmed, a game notification appeared at this moment. You've been killed by Dr. Hai. At this moment, the members of the demonic god guild had a mental breakdown. Is this the legendary super long-range kill of Dr. Hai from Zhonghai a few nautical miles away? Dr. Hai looked at the small village of the Sea Clan not far away with a stunned expression. What's going on? I threw it accurately. Why did I use so much force? At this moment, Dr. Hai was very distressed. His sabotage had failed again. He was in a terrible mood. Chapter 408. After the soul of the Empress dissipated, Dr. Hai only had one thought at this moment. That was to continue doing evil, to carry out the evil of the Empress to the end, and to become an evil person like the Empress. This was because he believed that if the Empress could see this scene, she would definitely feel gratified for him. Therefore, he wanted to be an evil person in the future, a pure evil person like the Empress. Although it was impossible for him to get the approval of the Empress, he only sought comfort in his heart. At this moment, Dr. Hai was sitting on a rock, looking at the sea, and thinking about where he should go to wreak havoc later. At this moment, several players' warships appeared in the distance. Seeing this scene, Dr. Hai's face revealed a smile, knowing that his opportunity had come. Recently, he often encountered these creatures who called themselves players. What made Dr. Hai feel strange was that when he encountered many sea clans previously, he would often fail inexplicably when he tried to wreak havoc. However, when he encountered these players, he could kill a group of them even if he just attacked randomly. This made Dr. Hai, who was an evil force killer, very puzzled, but he couldn't care less. Therefore, the confused players became the main target of Dr. Hai's evil deeds. These players, who called themselves the Calamity Evil Force, under the ravages of Dr. Hai, who was protected by the virtue of Netherworld, had originally planned to resist, but now they had completely withered. All the players only had one thought in their mind. This damn eunuch bullied them, and one day they would take revenge. However, at this moment, Dr. Hai was still enjoying it, feeling that he could finally unleash his evil attribute. At this moment, on the Myth warship led by the Myth Guild, Gu Yu and the others were transporting a batch of resources. This batch of resources was just exchanged from the sea clans in the Kuelong Ocean. They planned to send it to the Void Ocean and exchange it with a few small sea clans to earn the difference in price. However, when passing by this ocean, Gu Yu couldn't help but start to worry. Although he hadn't seen Dr. Hai before, he had always heard about his ferocity. Moreover, according to the player's description, this guy had the strength of a ghost emperor. If they encountered him, the Myth Guild would definitely not be able to compete with him with their strength. Boss, don't worry. Our luck isn't that bad. We'll definitely have a smooth journey. When the time comes, we'll just hand over the resources to the Water Ghost clan. Go Zi said indifferently. It's not that I'm afraid that the ship will be destroyed and everyone will die. Anyway, the resources are all in the space and Eunuch Hai can't take them away. I'm just afraid that if everyone dies, it will be very troublesome for the guild members to regroup. After all, everyone will be disbanded once they resurrect in Baiki. Moreover, the 9 Luminaries' brothers are not to be trifled with. Gu Yu could not help but sigh as he looked at the optimistic Sun Qi. Isn't it just Eunuch Hai? When I evolve into the final form of the White Phantom, I'll let him use all his hands and feet to heal himself on the spot. Let's see if he can beat me to death. But I think he'll probably tire himself to death. Go Zi chuckled. You're addicted to acting tough, aren't you? Gu Yu could not help but scold him jokingly as he looked at the smug dog. Boss, it's not that I'm bragging, but I'm just proud of being recognized as the strongest healer by the players of the 4 major servers. I'm already being modest. Look at the presidents of those small guilds. Many of them have some strength and become extremely arrogant with a few subordinate. Besides, Eunuch Hai didn't appear this time, did he? Even if he did appear, I'm here. Before Sun Qi could finish his sentence, the warship suddenly began to shake violently. Then, a huge wave came from afar and slammed their warship a distance away. Ha ha ha, prepare to die. Remember, the person who killed you is the great villain, Hai. Duh. Fu. Dr. Hai's voice came from above. Hearing such arrogant words, Gu Yu was stunned. He then turned his head to look at the dog. Hey, you're here. It's your turn. Ahem. Sun Qi suddenly looked embarrassed. I haven't even finished acting tough and this grandson is already here to slap me in the face. This is too King despicable. I, the dog, don't care about my reputation. I'm so mad. Go, what are you waiting for? It's your turn to act tough. Gu Yu looked at Sun Qi mockingly and continued. I'm a healer, not a combatant. Sun Qi forced a smile. Aren't you the strongest healer? Are you going to stand there and let him hit you until he dies of exhaustion? Gu Yu continued. At this time, the people of the Myth Guild also looked at Sun Qi with a mocking expression. Brother dog, go and act tough. I'll record a video for you. Tomorrow's forum headline will definitely be yours. Sigh, brother dog, if you're a man, please finish acting tough. Sun Qi was really embarrassed at this moment. Listening to the incitement, he could not help but look at the black shadow that appeared not far away. Then, he gritted his teeth and leaped forward. Then, 2 pairs of small black wings grew out of his back. These wings were one of the most expensive items in the shop, the wings of death. It was also a precious support equipment that Sun Chi had obtained after spending all his savings. As the wings flapped, Sun Chi's figure floated into the air. He gritted his teeth and rushed toward Dr. Hai. At this moment, Sun Chi wanted to cry. He could already imagine the scene of him being killed by a single punch. Seeing that Sun Chi really rushed forward, Gu Yu and the others widened their eyes. They wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Is this dog so impulsive? The guild members at the side were stunned. It's all your incitement. Gu Yu could not help but stare. Boss, you have a part in this too. Gu Yu was speechless. At this time, Sun Chi was getting closer to Dr. Hai. He could already see Dr. Hai's face clearly. Seeing that Sun Chi was approaching, Dr. Hai looked a little surprised. Then, he smirked and threw a punch at Sun Chi. Before the punch hit Sun Chi's body, the violent wind from the punch had already made Sun Chi unable to open his eyes. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. At this moment, Sun Chi wailed in his heart. He regretted it. He should not have acted tough. However, with so many people watching, he had no choice but to bite the bullet. Ah! Eat my claw. Sun Chi simply closed his eyes and raised his claws to scratch Dr. Hai. Seeing this scene, Gu Yu and the others had already started to mourn for Sun Chi. Pa! A crisp sound was heard. However, the expected notification of death did not appear. Sun Chi, who realized that he was not dead, slowly opened his eyes. Then, he realized that his slap had landed squarely on Dr. Hai's face. However, Dr. Hai's punch did not hit him. Did I miss? Sun Chi was stunned. Then, a man and a dog looked at each other. Sun Chi smiled awkwardly and slowly retracted his claws. Dr. Hai was also stunned at this moment. How could his punch miss? Logically speaking, the wind from the punch should have been able to tear this small animal into pieces. However, it was King wrong. Even the wind from the punch was inexplicably off course. Impossible! Dr. Hai angrily swung his fist at Sun Chi again. As the wind blew, Sun Chi could not help but close his eyes again. He subconsciously raised his claws and slapped Dr. Hai. Pa! When he opened his eyes again, Sun Chi was shocked to find that his claws were still on Dr. Hai's face. Dr. Hai was looking at him in shock. Obviously, his punch had missed again. $King% at hashtag. At this moment, Dr. Hai was completely enraged. This time, he simply grabbed Sun Chi in his hand and slapped him. Seeing that he was about to be slapped flat, Sun Chi raised his claws to meet the attack. This time, under Hai Dafu's incredulous gaze, his palm slowly deviated at an unbelievable angle. Then, he slapped again. However, Sun Chi's palm landed accurately on the right side of Hai Dafu's face. At this moment, Sun Chi was also stunned. What was going on? Wasn't eunuch Zhong Hai said to be very cruel? Why was his accuracy so bad? What Sun Chi did not know was that although he was part of the evil forces of the players, he was a healer. Usually, he only healed people during battles and played the role of healing the dying and healing the injured. Therefore, he was not marked as an evil person at all. For a kind person like Dr. Hai, who was protected by virtue, it was impossible for him to hurt a player like Sun Chi, who was also a kind person. The man and the dog looked at each other again. Both of them were dumbfounded. Go to hell. Dr. Hai, who did not believe in Sun Chi, swung his palm again. Missed. 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 While Sun Chi was still in shock, Dr. Hai grabbed him and tossed him around. However, he could not hurt Sun Chi at all. At this moment, Sun Chi's expression gradually changed from dumbfounded to arrogant. Therefore, under the incredulous gaze of Gu Yu and the others, Sun Chi's clamor could be heard from the sky. Eunuch Hai, did you not eat? Can't you hit me harder? Ah, beautiful, a perfect miss. I'll give you full marks plus 666. Left. Oh, you piece of trash. You missed again. Please beat me to death cruelly. Thank you. It's so lonely to seek death. Let the storm come fiercely. It's so lonely to be invincible. In the end, Sun Chi had already started humming a song. Seeing this scene, Gu Yu and the others were dumbfounded. When they thought of how Sun Chi said that he wanted to tire Dr. Hai to death, and then looked at Dr. Hai who was constantly tossing and turning, they suddenly felt that this absurd joke would not come true. What the hell are you? After tossing and turning for a while, Dr. Hai suddenly stopped. An ancient divine beast. Sun Chi replied with a serious face. God my ass. Hearing this, Dr. Hai was so angry that he tossed and turned again. Unsurprisingly, these attacks all missed again. Are you tired? Drink some water and take a break. We'll continue. Sun Chi quietly took out a bottle of Bakey mineral water from the space and handed it over. Dr. Hai was speechless. You're not drinking? Then let me know if you're thirsty. Oh right, if you're hungry, I still have food here, Sun Chi said as he took out a pack of fawn biscuits from the space. Sun Chi's ability to attract hatred was maxed out. This time, Dr. Hai was so angry that his face turned green. After knowing that he could not deal with Sun Chi, Dr. Hai looked at Gu Yu and the others. Gu Yu and the others were shocked. After all, Dr. Hai's Ghost Emperor realm was real on the analysis panel. Hey, you have to finish what you started. How can you change your target if you haven't killed me? Sun Chi seemed to have seen through Dr. Hai's thoughts and quickly spoke. Get lost. Dr. Hai immediately threw Sun Chi aside and flew toward Gu Yu and the others. As Dr. Hai approached, Gu Yu and the others quickly summoned the battleship spirit, which was a giant golden dragon shadow. However, the battleship spirit fell apart the moment it came into contact with Dr. Hai. At this moment, Dr. Hai once again showed the strength that he should have in the Ghost Emperor realm, which made Gu Yu and the others feel despair. Just as Dr. Hai's fist was about to land, a voice suddenly came from afar. The voice was filled with anger and longing, which made Dr. Hai's heart tremble. His body suddenly stopped in midair. However, the wind from the punch made the entire Myth Realm warship slowly sink into the water. Then, it suddenly bounced up. Dr. Hai, eat my punch. At this moment, a delicate voice was heard again. Under the astonished gaze of Gu Yu and the others, the silhouette walked on the waves and approached the Myth Realm's warship at an extremely fast speed. Then, it leaped up abruptly and punched Dr. Hai's face hard, causing him to fly backward. Chapter 409. Looking at the approaching figure, Dr. Hai's face was filled with disbelief. While he was in a daze, Dr. Hai's right cheek was hit by a punch. His body was thrown into the air, and he flew backward. Gu Yu and the others were also shocked at this moment. Looking at the figure standing on the deck, their expressions became very nervous, thinking that it was another super expert. However, after opening the analysis menu, they were dumbfounded, just like Dr. Hai. One of our own? A Ghost Commander level? A Ghost Commander level versus a Ghost Emperor level? Gu Yu and the others fell into a state of confusion. At this moment, the Empress stomped her feet and created a pit on the deck. She leaped toward Dr. Hai, who was thrown away, and punched him again. Ah! Looking at the familiar face, Dr. Hai couldn't help but scream. His voice was filled with fear, excitement, confusion, and many other emotions at this moment. Ah, your grandpa, go and die! The Empress closed in again and punched Dr. Hai's chin, sending him flying again. Ah! Even though he was being beaten, Dr. Hai was still shouting excitedly. Bang! 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 Under the shocked gaze of Gu Yu and the others, Dr. Hai was thrown back and forth by the Empress's punches. What the F***CK, the new NPC is so strong. Sun Chi, who had flown back to the deck, exclaimed. She's indeed a combat NPC. She's fighting 2 levels above her and still suppressing her opponent. Oh my, she's too strong. Gu Yu murmured in shock. Facing Dr. Hai, the Empress didn't hold back this time. She vented all the resentment in her heart. Dr. Hai, stand still and get beaten up, the Empress shouted angrily. Hearing the Empress's angry shout, Dr. Hai, who was flying backward, immediately stopped in the air. Then, he received another solid punch from the Empress. Seeing this scene, Gu Yu and the others widened their eyes. Verbal compliance? Gu Yu was stunned. What the F***ck? What kind of skill is this? She made him obey her with just one sentence. The new NPC is too powerful. All the members of the Myth Guild were in a mess. They felt that this new NPC was a little too strong. He had even used the myth ability, verbal compliance. In the eyes of Gu Yu and the others, the scene of the Empress violently beating up Dr. Hai was simply a crushing defeat in all aspects. The image of the Empress instantly rose in their hearts. At this moment, Guzi silently turned on the livestream function and began to broadcast the scene of the Empress violently beating up Dr. Hai. He also entered a title. Shocking! The new NPC is a super beauty, and her combat power is terrifying. She is currently beating up Eunuch Hai. Brother Go is live streaming. If you like it, please tip me. This title attracted a lot of players. Many players were filled with curiosity about the new NPC. Unfortunately, the new NPC had yet to make an appearance. Hence, the title of the NPC had already attracted their attention. The title of the NPC, Eunuch Hai, piqued their curiosity even more. The players hated Eunuch Hai to the core. Recently, he had even chased most of the players from the Kuelong Ocean back to the Void Ocean. Therefore, how could the players not be curious when they saw the word "get beaten up"? All of a sudden, a large number of players swarmed into Go Z's livestream. When they saw the contents of the screen, they were just as shocked as Gu Yu and the others. Watermelon_Taro. I, who was drinking water, spat it out on the spot. The new NPC is too violent. I can't afford to offend her. I can't afford to offend her. Shuili_the_strongest. That's so satisfying. Hurry up and beat this malignant Eunuch Hai to death. Our guild was killed by his super long-range skill and returned to Bakey. Bleeding knife emoji. Peppa_Boar. Am I the only one who noticed? The new NPC is so beautiful. I'm already fantasizing about what our future child would look like. I'm ready to leave a good impression, laughing emoji. Unrivaled_strong replied to Peppa_Boar. This NPC is not easy to lick. I've experienced it myself, but the premise is that you must be able to take the beating. Laughing emoji. Pirate_captain. This must be fake. How can he beat up his opponent with such a huge difference in realm? I suspect that they are fixing the match. Doubtful emoji. Xiaoming replied to Pirate_captain. Now that you mention it, I suddenly feel that something is not right. Did you guys notice that Eunuch Hai is not fighting back at all? This is obviously fixing the match. It's too presumptuous, blatantly fixing the match. Slams table emoji. Crayon_Shinchan. I don't know why, but I suddenly smell the stench of love in the screen. I hope it's just an illusion, laughing emoji. A_large_wolfdog, OP, replied to Crayon_Shinchan. What do you mean? Crayon_Shinchan replied to A_large_wolfdog. OP kids should go play in the mud. Is this something you should know? Room message. Player Crayon_Shinchan has been kicked out of A_large_wolfdog's live streaming room. Happy Dragon Boat Festival. Ahahaha, this is the first time a contrarian has been defeated. I'm dying of laughter. How dare you show off in my live streaming room? Accept my judgment. Cheers for the college entrance examination. I'm laughing my head off. This is what a contrarian deserves. There should be applause here. Clap, clap, clap. A_large_wolfdog, OP, it's normal. Everyone, please sit down. If you think it's interesting, please send me some tips. Revealing Tonggua's poor smile. JPG. While Hai Daofu was being beaten up, the live streaming room was also bustling with noise and excitement. The players were extremely happy that Dr. Hai was being beaten up. It was as if their resentment towards Dr. Hai had been smashed into his face along with the Empress's fist. For a moment, there were all sorts of cheers in the live streaming room. On the other hand, Dr. Hai couldn't take the Empress's crazy face slapping anymore. "Your Majesty, can you not hit my face? Can you hit other places?" Upon hearing this, a murderous glint flashed across the Empress's eyes. She then lifted her right leg and kicked Dr. Hai's crotch. Ugh! The smile on Dr. Hai's face instantly froze, and his face instantly turned pale. At this moment, the Empress kicked him again. Upon seeing this, Dr. Hai was scared out of his wit. He quickly said, "Face slapping. Just slap my face." Bang! Without hesitation, the Empress threw a punch at Dr. Hai's face, causing his head to tilt to the side. After holding it in for tens of thousands of years, especially after knowing that Dr. Hai had secretly tricked her countless times, the Empress couldn't stop after her outburst. She fought and fought until the sun was about to set. The scarlet sunset dyed the sky red, but the Empress was still fighting. At this time, the players in the live streaming room were tirelessly cheering for the Empress even though she couldn't hear them at all. "Ugh! Your Majesty, are you tired?" "I'm not tired." Bang! While replying, the Empress punched Dr. Hai's face. "Your Majesty, aren't you dead?" Dr. Hai continued to ask as he was being beaten. "I was tricked to death by a pig like you." Bang! "Your Majesty, how can you falsely accuse me without any evidence? I have always wanted to resurrect you." Dr. Hai looked aggrieved. "I will resurrect you, I will resurrect you." Bang! 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 Dr. Hai was speechless. Under such circumstances, Dr. Hai would be beaten no matter what he said. Looking at the Empress who was still incomparably ferocious in battle, Dr. Hai sighed in his heart. "She is indeed the evil person that I admire the most. She is simply too ferocious. When can I reach such a realm?" Hence, the Empress continued to beat Dr. Hai until the sun set and the moon rose. Even when the players in the live streaming room gradually dispersed, the Empress was still tirelessly beating Dr. Hai. At this moment, Gu Yu and the rest were already tired from watching. "Let's go, I don't want to watch anymore. I guess the fight can't be finished. Let's continue to deliver the goods." Gu Yu said, "Boss, this fight is in the Lifetime series. I guess I can only wait for 100 years for my grandson to log in and check the situation of the battle. Then, he will burn the information of their victory and defeat for me." Sun Chi chuckled. "Stop being mischievous. Let's go and send this batch of goods back first." Gu Yu glared at Sun Chi and began to control the great dragon warship to head toward the void ocean. After Gu Yu and the rest left, the Empress beat Hai Daofu for a few more hours. In the end, the Empress only stopped when her hands were really tired. After all, she only had the strength of a ghost commander at this moment. Facing Dr. Hai, who was a ghost emperor with a strong defense, she was really powerless. After calming down, the Empress asked, "Dr. Hai, give me an explanation. Why did you disband the Nether Sea Nation?" Your Majesty, you can't just say it without any evidence. Aren't you the reason for the disbandment of the Nether Sea Nation?" Dr. Hai said with a wronged expression. "Really? It's all that wretched Empress's fault, isn't it? Otherwise, the Nether Sea Nation wouldn't have been disbanded." The Empress repeated what Dr. Hai said to Wang Damong. Upon hearing this, Dr. Hai's expression suddenly changed. Then, he said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, what are you talking about?" "Empress, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand a single word?" He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. Then, he said, "Don't worry." "Then," she said, "Dr. Hai, since the Nether Sea Nation has been destroyed and it has been hundreds of thousands of years, I won't pursue it anymore. Now I want to ask you something. Do you know my real name?" Upon hearing this, Dr. Hai was dumbfounded. "Your Majesty, isn't your name the Empress? Do you have another name?" Although she always felt that she didn't care about it, she was sure that Dr. Hai had long forgotten about Hai Yu. She still felt extremely complicated. I know. At this moment, Dr. Hai suddenly exclaimed. Upon hearing this, the Empress was shocked and immediately asked, What? First of all, I know that your Majesty is from the Mu Te clan. Therefore, I boldly guess that your surname should be Mu. As for your given name, it should be Di. Therefore, there is only one truth. Your real name is Emperor Mu. Dr. Hai said proudly. Go to hell. The Empress punched Dr. Hai's face. At this moment, she felt that Dr. Hai was not only stupid, but simply hopeless. Dr. Hai, do you still remember Haiyu? The Empress finally couldn't help but remind him. Haiyu? Who? Dr. Hai was dumbfounded. The Sea Spirit Clan. The Empress, who was unwilling to give up, glared at him and reminded him again. Dr. Hai was speechless. Seeing that the Empress was about to throw another punch, Dr. Hai quickly shouted, I remember. Speak. The Sea Spirit Clan is a powerful force from the Central Sea. It is said that they have the bloodline of the God Clan. Now they are distributed in various large sea regions. Due to their special physique, at this moment, the Empress completely gave up. Indeed, this bastard had saved too many people and had long forgotten about Haiyu. Dr. Hai, farewell. The Empress turned around angrily as she spoke. Little Haiyu? At this moment, Dr. Hai's voice suddenly came from behind. The Empress was shocked and immediately turned around. Then, she saw Dr. Hai saying with a look of disdain, I remember. Haiyu is the crybaby that I picked up when I was young. I don't know where this little girl is now. She really made me worry at that time. She was too clingy and annoying. Empress, are you asking about this little girl? Upon hearing this, the Empress clenched her fists and the veins on her forehead were throbbing. Is it not her again? But I really don't know anyone else named Haiyu, Dr. Hai said pitifully. Shut up. The Empress suddenly turned around as she spoke. However, the corner of her mouth revealed a smile. This was because she knew that Dr. Hai had not forgotten about her. That was enough. Looking at the Empress who was about to leave, Dr. Hai suddenly became anxious and quickly said, Empress, where are you going? Baiki. Why are you going to Baiki? Aren't you going to rebuild the Nether Sea Kingdom? I have already joined a new force. From now on, I will be loyal to it and will never betray it. The Empress said without turning her head. What force? Can I join? Dr. Hai quickly followed behind the Empress and asked. From Dr. Hai's point of view, a force that could make an evil person like the Empress join was definitely an extremely huge and evil force. Get along well with the player clan. Maybe one day you will have the opportunity to join them. The Empress replied indifferently. Empress, how did you come back to life? This time, the Empress did not answer. Her figure gradually disappeared, leaving behind a confused Dr. Hai. Chapter 410. At this moment, on the Liuli beach, Gu Yu and his team of 8 members were testing the performance of the assembled dragon boat. Considering that the players were not familiar with the dragon boat, Lu Wu had prepared all the finished parts. There was no need for the players to build them, they just had to assemble them. Moreover, the first event would last for a whole day. It did not matter if they died once, so the players were fearless. Taking advantage of the opening of the event, the reunited players gathered together and headed towards the Mansion of the Dead, ready to harvest a huge amount of event materials. If all the dragon boats were made up of special effect parts, the dragon boat would have 13 special effects. Event reward. For every dumpling made by your camp will receive +1 point. At the end of this event, the camp with the highest points will receive Horn Millet, x2, and the camp that failed will receive Horn Millet, x1 as a consolation reward. Why don't we go and fight some more monsters? We still have time. It would be perfect if we could make a special effect part. If we can make one, it can be paired with silence. If not, we can just choose a combination of the 4 special effects, Gu Yu said. He walked towards Chunziu and the others from the Great Dragon Guild who were assembling the parts. He then took out a golden part from his channel. Having more special effects doesn't necessarily mean it's powerful. There must be a reason why silence needs 9 parts, Sun Chi retorted with a serious face. Materials required for making sweet dumplings: red bean paste, candied plums, fragrant glutinous rice, glutinous bamboo leaves. Event time: 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival. Level 1 EXP buff. Gain 15% EXP for killing monsters. Duration: 1 to 15 days, random. At this moment they had more than 100 dragon boat parts in their hands. There were still many ways to choose from, but the problem was how to assemble them. For the entire morning, all the players had basically died at least once. Ha ha ha, Sun Chi, are you envious? Wang Damong took the part and waved it at Sun Chi. Storm, March 3rd. Roar, March 3rd. Fly, 6/6. Silence, 9/9. Death, Special Effect Part 1/1. King Kong, 3/3. Rosen, 4/4. And so on. At this moment, Gu Yu and the others were troubled about how to combine these dragon boat parts to assemble a dragon boat with powerful special effects and attributes. Therefore, the players had many choices, and the various combinations were dazzling to the eyes. They could only try them one by one. Silence, 9/9, is too much of a waste. We can just add 2 more special effects, such as 4/4, Mountain of Flesh, 4/4, Thorns, and finally 2/2, Slow. Then we can add our 3/3, Gale. That way we'll have 4 special effects. That'll be perfect. A member of the guild immediately objected. Don't be like this, son of a bitch. Don't you think it'll be a waste? Activity 3. The sweet and salty dumplings. The Pokemon Master replied to Shirley _ strongest. I'll smash your head with a backhand. Savory dumplings are the heresy, sweet dumplings are the best in the universe. At this moment, in the eyes of the players, the soldiers of the 9 Brilliance Army were the components for the dragon boat. The more they killed, the more materials they would have, and the more options they would have for assembling the dragon boat. How could they not be excited? Boss, we also want special effects parts. At this moment, Go Z's eyes were red. In this battle, the players were no longer as tired as before. Under the temptation of the event rewards, each and every one of them was incomparably vigorous, catching the 9 Brilliance brothers who were stationed at the Mansion of the Dead by surprise. All the parts had 4 main attribute bonuses: speed bonus, defense bonus, health bonus, and attack bonus. Server announcement: the Dragon Boat Race has officially begun. The Dragon Boat Race has begun. Part Introduction: the Dragon Head part used to assemble the Dragon Boat, an exclusive special effect part. Official notification: the Dragon Boat Festival is in good health, helping all players enjoy the event. Without the 9 Brilliance brothers knowing, the natural disaster of the players had arrived once again. Syrian player: what's there to fight about? Let's compete in the event. Whoever wins is the boss. I can eat it anyway. Laughing emoji. Event details: before the event begins, all participating players must choose the sweet or salty camp in advance on the event interface. After the event officially begins, all players will receive an embroidered bag of dumplings. Every 10 minutes, one of the ingredients needed to make the dumplings will be randomly generated. A total of 8 ingredients. Jiao Millet, event item. Crayon _ Shinchan, another happy day. The dog official has another event. I'm so happy. Laughing emoji. For example, the dragon boat that Gu Yu and the others were assembling. What the F***CK? Special effect part. Sun Chi's eyes widened when he saw the dragon head part. Level 1 money buff. 15% bonus of soul coins obtained from killing monsters. Duration: 1 to 15 days, random. Peppa _ Boar replied to the Pokemon Master. I'll smash your head with a forehand. Salty dumplings are the best. The players had formed small groups and had already begun to study the assembly of the dragon boat. Golden Dragon, Dragon Head, Attack, Special Discount Buff. Obtain a discount on all items in the shop, 3 to 20% random. The buff will disappear after purchasing a maximum of 6 items. Event 2. Dragon Boat Betting. There were 4 types of special and exquisite buffs. This activated the prefix effect of Gale 3/3. The dragon boat that was assembled would obtain a passive 30% speed bonus. Event time. Dragon Boat Festival from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. This was because the special effect parts did not need to be matched. The assembly would come with a special effect skill, such as Death, God's Protection, Nirvana, and so on. Boss, why don't we choose 9/9, Silence and add a random defense part? Now that we have Gale, our speed will definitely not be slow. Our defense is our weakest point now. Since there are tools that can interfere with each other during the race, I think we can at least protect ourselves if we choose Silence. Sun Chi said. Windrunner, I'm a dragon boat racer in real life. Is there anyone who can help me? I'm Lone Ranger, Tong Gua's arrogant face. At this moment, the Liuli coast was filled with players. However, other than Gale, the special effect of the parts also included Invincible_Loneliness, collecting soul coins. I think this is the chance to make a fortune. Dragon Boat Race, 1 in heaven and 1 in hell. Laughing emoji. Since the first event required them to kill monsters to obtain materials, compared to the sea area, the area with the most monsters was the Mansion of the Dead. This was because a large number of 9 Yao army soldiers were stationed there. However, the special feature of this event was the assembly method of the dragon boat. Event 1. Dragon Boat Race. Event time. All day of the Dragon Boat Festival the members expressed their own opinions, and everyone had different suggestions. Correspondingly, the players also obtained a large number of dragon boat assembly parts. Wash the jade grains with rice and water, wrap the ruo leaves with rami silk. Fill the corners of the rice with cooking residue, peel it off and condense it into fine paste. Materials required to make salty dumplings. Fresh meat, 5 spice powder, glutinous rice, reed leaves. Golden Dragon, passive. 1/1 Summon a golden dragon to enhance the dragon boat. Increase the speed of the dragon boat by 10%, defense by 10%, health by 10%, and collision damage by 20%. F***CK, we're rich! At this moment, an exclamation came from afar. Gu Yu and the others immediately turned their heads and saw a person rushing toward them with a smile on his face. Dragon Boat Festival Event Preview. Colorful thread wraps around the arm of a red jade, and a small talisman hangs diagonally from a green cloud. Level 1 Attribute Buff. Obtain a 15% increase in all attributes for 1 to 15 days. Random. Before the event even started, the players had already started discussing in the forum in advance. They had even started arguing about whether the dumplings were sweet or salty. Event tip. In this dragon boat race, there will be many special props on the racetrack. After the dragon boat collides with the props box, it will receive a special buff bonus. Event details. After this event starts, the dragon boat betting competition will be held at the Liuli coast. In this event, all the dragon boats will not be controlled by the players and will compete on their own. Before the competition starts, the players can learn about the participating dragon boats and place their soul coins as bet. Since the parts owned by the team could not be traded, the players could only use the parts owned by their own team. Therefore, the most important thing was to combine the parts to achieve the best effect. The dragon head, keel, and rudder were all dragon boat parts with the prefix Fierce Wind. Event tip. Since the materials in the pouch of the dumplings are randomly generated, there will be duplicate materials and materials from the opposing camp that cannot be used. Players can trade for the materials they need. Currently, the only 3 parts that they were certain about were the 3/3, Fierce Wind. Since this special effect increased the speed attribute, it would be very helpful for the dragon boat race. However, the choice of the other 10 parts was a problem. Hearing the game notification, all the players were very excited. They gathered together and rushed to the mansion of the dead. Betting types: bet on the first place, odds 1. 4. Bet on the top 3. Bet on the dragon boat entering the top 3, odds 1. 2. Bet on the last place, odds 1. 4. Bet on the specific ranking of the dragon boat, 1. 4. Today was the Dragon Boat Festival. Of course, this was just an ideal situation. While the players were discussing, it was 8 o'clock in the morning and the event officially started. Surely the strongest replied to watermelon taro. I'll smash your head. Dumplings are sweet, all salty dumplings are heresy. The players had been looking forward to this event for a long time. When they saw the official announcement, all the players were very excited. Event details: on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, players can register in groups of 8 to participate in this dragon boat race. After the team is formed and registered successfully, there is a chance that any monster killed by the team members will drop an event item. Players can use these items to make the event item, Dragon Boat. There are a total of 328 dragon boat manufacturing plans. After the dragon boat is made, players can look for the event messenger at the Liuli coast to participate in the competition. The ranking of this event will be based on the time taken to reach the finish line. Event tip: gambling on a small scale for fun, gambling on a large scale to hurt soul coins. Dragon boat material: body, dragon head, bottom bone, keel, bottom, horizontal, main side, crossbar, seat plate, dragon intestine, reinforced midgut, tongue, oil ash, planer, varnish, tail, rudder. Early in the morning, Lu Wu released the announcement of the Dragon Boat Festival event. There were many ways to match them. Every dragon boat material had a prefix. Only when a certain number of parts with the same prefix were assembled could the special effect of the prefix be activated to enhance the dragon boat. By noon, the Liuli coast was once again surrounded by people. To assemble a dragon boat, 13 parts were needed. In other words, a dragon boat could be matched with at least 2 special effects. Watermelon taro. Confused. Dumplings are divided into sweet and salty? Aren't they all salty? However, the most important thing was the prefix of the parts. Different prefixes could be matched with different special dragon boat skills during assembly. Among them, the parts that could activate the special effect with only 1/1 had become the most sought-after dragon boat parts. Classmate Little Ming, the event is starting soon. Are there any teams that are missing members? I'm looking for a strong dragon boat team. Item details: players can obtain a random buff after consuming it. The buff lasts for 1 to 30 days. There is also a chance to obtain a special buff. Chapter 411. F***CK. At that moment, Chen Ziyu and the others could not help but curse. F***CK. Let's fight them. The leader of the exploding boat team, who had also obtained the item, suddenly locked his gaze on the dragon boat that Chen Ziyu and the others were on. Then, a bead shot out from the dragon's head. Actually, it's almost the same as moving on autopilot. The acceleration is not as high as the speed provided by one of the accessories. However, if we keep rowing, the 10% increase in speed is quite a lot, Chen Ziyu analyzed with a smile. I killed a zombie wolf on the way back, and it dropped. The player chuckled. At that moment, the 8 immortals crossed the sea and displayed their skills. More than 300 skills were chosen, making the beginning of the dragon boat race extremely exciting. Just as Chen Ziyu was about to speak, the exploding boat that was supposed to be the first place crossed the finish line. The players who were watching from the sidelines were even more excited. Looking at the ranking on the top right corner, Chen Ziyu was anxious. At that moment, they had used up all their items. If they wanted to be the first place, they had to row as hard as they could. These 3 were all dragon boats with special parts. One was the dragon boat that Chen Ziyu and the others were on, the other was the exploding boat that they had been fighting with all the way, and the last one had the ability to dive, but they couldn't see anyone at all. Therefore, the people of the Great Dragon Guild quickly rode and approached the item box. F***ck, what kind of prefix ability is this? Chen Ziyu and the others widened their eyes. Boss Lu. Seeing that the Great Dragon Guild team led by Chen Ziyu had obtained a special part, Gu Yu and the others were extremely envious. At that moment, be it Chen Ziyu and the others or the exploding boat team, they were all extremely frustrated. At the end of the race, the distance between the dragon boats gradually increased. Many of the dragon boats that had weak special effects were left thousands of meters behind. In the end, there were only 3 dragon boats competing for first place. Game notification. Participation successful. Matching opponents. Boom. Game notification. The collision caused the dragon boat to lose 20 HP, remaining 549 HP. HP will return to the starting point when it reaches 0. When the game notification rang again, Chen Ziyu and the others immediately became serious and stopped talking. Dragon Boat Paddle, event item. What made them even more shocked was that a dragon boat not far away suddenly dove into the water and disappeared. What dogsh *t luck. At that moment, Go Zi was filled with jealousy and envy. At this moment, Chen Ziyu and the others cheered, then hurriedly paddled the boat and passed by the exploding ship. At this time, they were less than 50 meters away from the finish line. Chen Ziyu and the others had a look of despair on their faces when they heard the explosion coming from behind. At that moment, a dragon boat suddenly emerged from the bottom of the water and crossed the finish line in second place. Boss Lu, you're such a coward. I can't believe you made it all the way to the finish line. The special effects of your dragon boat are too weak. Shueli interrupted. Suddenly, a harpoon shot out from the dragon boat's head towards the exploding ship from afar. Matching complete. Zone 213, a total of 100 teams are participating. Your number is 67. Harpoon, prop. Therefore, under the smug gazes of the Great Dragon Guild's members, Gu Yu began to lead his team toward the mansion of the dead. After all, compared to ordinary dragon boat parts, special effect parts didn't need to be assembled to activate their effects. Moreover, the attributes they provided were much stronger, which was why they were known as godly parts by players. With a loud bang, the dragon boat of Chen Ziyu and the others crashed into the light wall. Prop details. Paddling can change the direction of the dragon boat. 8 people paddling at the same time can increase the speed of the dragon boat by 10% for 1 second. At this time, a magma appeared in each of their hands. How did you get it? Sun Qi immediately ran to the player and asked. Beside them, 2 meters away from each other stood the other team members who were also participating in the competition. Game notification. Congratulations, you've won the first place in Zone 213. All team members will receive the title reward, King of Boat Race. Boss, this is perfect. With the Dragon Head special effect part, we have 5 special effects. We can compete now. Shueli smiled happily. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Kill them! Shueli immediately shouted excitedly. When their vision became clear again, they heard the deafening cheers. The whole track was like a fireworks display. The props were released back and forth. There was no absolute first place. However, the Great Dragon Guild's dragon boat had stabilized itself in the top 3 with the Golden Dragon special effect. As the countdown ended, the background players on the shore cheered, "Come on!" As the banners swayed, the 100 dragon boats shot forward like arrows. Although they were currently in first place, they could overtake them in one jump once the cooldown of the exploding boat was over. It was not safe at all. As time went by, the dragon boat race became more and more intense. The subsequent props were even more varied. I didn't want to do that. They all said that the special effect is good. I wanted to build a dragon boat with flesh. Lu Chai pointed at the guild members who were giggling behind him. However, at this time, the tail of the dragon boat spewed smoke again. Then, the dragon boat leaped up and drew an arc in the air. Once again, it was more than 20 meters away from them. As the game notification ended, the dragon boat that Chen Ziyu and the others had assembled appeared on the lake in front of them. Among them, the dragon boat that Chen Ziyu and the others were on was the most eye-catching. The moment the game started, a giant golden dragon appeared and began to hover above their dragon boat. It looked very cool and was far ahead of all the other dragon boats, becoming the first place. When Chen Ziyu saw the appearance of the people on the dragon boat, he could not help but be stunned. Alright, we probably won't be able to get any special effect parts if we continue killing monsters. It's almost time. Chen Ziyu nodded at this time. Looking up, they were in an area of a lake. Both sides of the lake were filled with background people holding banners and shouting, as well as many players who chose to watch the battle. Looking at the 5-minute countdown, Chen Ziyu and the others quickly walked along the stairs to the dragon boat and stepped onto it one by one. As the dragon boat had been in stealth mode, although it was not fast, it still managed to enter the top 3 without the interference of the props. Therefore, Chen Ziyu and the others quickly began to paddle. At this moment, the 10% increase in speed became extremely important in their eyes. After the harpoon drew an arc in the air, it accurately shot the tail of the exploding boat. Suddenly, an electric current flashed, and the exploding boat's forward speed rapidly slowed down. As the race had just started, the distance between the dragon boats was not far. The attack of the 2 dragon boats gave the dragon boat behind a chance to quickly overtake them. Their ranking instantly dropped to 10 places. Game notification. Attacked by the props of dragon boat number 69. Blocked for 10 seconds. I think it's the 1/1 special part, explosion. I remember this skill is only released once a minute, Shueli said. At this time, a loud noise was heard. The cooldown of the exploding boat had ended, and it was once again in jump mode. This made Chen Ziyu and the others feel a sense of urgency. The game notification, please get ready. The race will start in 30 seconds. Game countdown, 10, 9, 8, 1. Although they knew that the quality of the parts dropped from killing monsters was random, killing a zombie wolf and getting a special effect part was a little too much of a luck. As the game notification ended, the members of the Great Dragon Guild instantly disappeared from where they stood. The entire race was extremely thrilling, and Chen Ziyu and the others were scared out of their wits. They were afraid that a random item would suddenly appear out of nowhere and drag their ranking down. Function of the item: lock on to the target dragon boat with your eyes. After choosing to release, this item will automatically shoot out and slow down the target dragon boat by 50% for 20 seconds. At this moment, Chen Ziyu and the others stood up and could not help but cheer. On the race track 50 meters away, a row of golden boxes was floating above the water, shining brightly. The bead flew at an extremely fast speed to the front of the dragon boat where Chen Ziyu and the others were on. Then, it suddenly formed a light wall, blocking their way. At this moment, Chen Ziyu and Lu Chai could not help but look at each other and then burst out laughing. F***CK, this explosion skill is 2F***King awesome. Seeing this, Wang Damong, who was paddling at the stern of the boat, widened his eyes. Ready to enter the event scene. All members of the Great Dragon Guild, please get ready. While they were chatting, the dragon boat on their left suddenly flew up and slowly approached them. Dong. The moment the dragon boat collided with the box, a game notification popped up in the minds of the members of the Great Dragon Guild, and a translucent introduction panel appeared in front of them. Soon, they once again surpassed the dragon boat with the special effect and became the first place. Initially, they thought that with a special effect part, they would have no problem getting the first place in this race. However, they did not expect the other players to assemble the dragon boats that were not weak at all. It was not as easy as they thought it would be for them to get the first place. At this time, the game notification popped up again. Haha, Boss Chin, you owe me a favor. Remember to buy me a drink when we get out. Lu Chai stood up and said with a smile. However, the special effect of this explosive boat was really powerful. It leaped forward with the help of the explosive ability and could not distance itself from them at all. Explode. At this time, the tail of the green dragon boat next to Chernziu and the others started smoking. Then, the entire dragon boat suddenly shot up and flew 50 meters forward in an instant, instantly surpassing them and becoming the first place. At this time, Schwelly, who was sitting at the head of the dragon boat, suddenly shouted excitedly, "Look, there's a box!" Then, the game notification popped up. In the last 100 meters of the sprint, Chernziu and the others were extremely nervous. Then, he opened the event menu and clicked on the participation button. Thinking that they had been working hard for the whole morning without even seeing the shadow of the special part, Sun Chi felt sad. F***CK, hurry up and get one! Wang Damong quickly shouted. Click. A crisp sound was heard. Suddenly, the explosive boat was frozen in midair, unable to fall or move forward. Suddenly, the game notification popped up. Missiles, teleportation, super acceleration, harpoons, invincible tortoiseshell, and so on. The players could not stop attacking each other at all. No problem. Chernziu agreed without hesitation. He did not expect that it was his old friend who stopped the explosive boat. All players, please enter your respective dragon boat. The dragon boat race is about to begin. Seeing this, Chernziu and the others did not look back. They quickly paddled with all their might and finally crossed the finish line. I thought the dragon boat would move forward automatically. It turns out that we still have to paddle. This feels like a competition. Schwelly laughed. Hearing this, Chernziu quickly looked at the explosive boat not far away and chose to use the item. Just when they thought that they had no hope of getting the first place, a spear surrounded by lightning suddenly shot from behind and stabbed into the explosive boat that was flying in midair at an extremely fast speed. Game notification. The result of this dragon boat race is 29 minutes 57 seconds. You are temporarily ranked 18th in the overall ranking. If you can maintain the top 100 in the overall ranking after this event, you will receive additional event rewards. Ha ha ha, bye bye. While paddling past, Wang Damong mischievously greeted the members of the explosive boat. Let's go and kill some monsters. We still have time. At this moment, Guyu could not wait any longer. At this moment, his mind was filled with ideas on how to obtain the special part. Chapter 412. Today's Dragon Boat Festival event had thoroughly motivated the players, especially the Dragon Boat race at the beginning. In order to get a good ranking, many players would repeatedly observe other players' races before participating in the race to gain experience. Wave after wave of races, coupled with the immersive environment of the competition, made the players extremely excited. Guides on how to assemble the dragon boat sprung up in the forum like mushrooms after a spring rain. However, all these guides had one thing in common, which was that the special parts could play a decisive role in the race. Of course, there were exceptions. For example, the 9 out of 9 silence special effect shone brilliantly in the subsequent races. Due to the powerful ability to change the outcome of the dragon boat race, and the effect of the silence effect was to ignore the damage of any item, some daring players began to test the waters by using 9 parts of the boat to create the silence effect. The result was that the silence special effect became a god. The powerful effect of ignoring the damage of any items throughout the race shocked all the players. Later on, the players played with the combination of the dragon boat to a new height, and all kinds of magical combinations emerged one after another. Some players participated in the race to get a good ranking, while others wanted to have fun. It was this group of players who pushed the atmosphere of the Dragon Boat Festival event to a climax. When it was close to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the popularity of the Dragon Boat race finally began. This was because the second event, the Dragon Boat betting competition, was about to begin. Before the event began, the Liuli coast was once again surrounded by players. When it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the game announcement rang in the players' anticipation. Server announcement. The Dragon Boat Festival event, Dragon Boat Betting Competition, has begun. This event will last for 3 hours, and there will be a round every half an hour. There will be a total of 6 rounds. Players can participate in this betting competition on the event menu. As the game announcement rang, a purple aurora appeared in the sky above the Liuli coast, and the dense fog covered the entire sea. In front of the Liuli coast, 8 dragon boats of different colors appeared at this moment. Seeing this, the players opened the event menu, and the specific information of the 8 dragon boats appeared. The 8 dragon boats were numbered from 1 to 8, and they were made up of completely different parts. They also had different special effects, and the information was very detailed. Below these dragon boats, there was an option to place a bet. At this moment, the players began to carefully observe the information of the 8 dragon boats, thinking about which dragon boat they should bet on to earn soul coins from the stupid officials. At that moment, a group of experts appeared in the live chat channel. Bet on number 8. Number 8 has a silencing effect, so you'll definitely earn 4 times the soul coins. What are you waiting for? Number 3, it's an explosion special effect. You guys probably haven't seen this special effect before. It's much stronger than silence. Trust me, I'm going to make a fortune. Bet on number 4. Number 4 has a special death effect. This wave is going to be a lot safer. Don't think too much about it. It's just a wave of stud. If you win, you'll be rewarded. If you lose, you'll have to carry bricks on the ground. Motherf *Kerr, I originally wanted to see your opinions in the event channel, but it turns out that all of you have different opinions. This is so uncomfortable. Don't listen to these people jeering. Number 7 has the Abyss special effect. This special effect can be used once every 25 minutes, and it can directly teleport a long distance. There's no way it can lose. Just as the players were discussing how to place their bets, the event notification rang again. Game notification. The first round of the Dragon Boat betting competition is about to begin. Countdown, 5 minutes. Upon hearing the game notification, many players who were hesitant finally began to place their bet. Although most of the players were just having fun and did not really put in all their money, due to the large number of players in Bakey, the number of soul coins bet had reached 10 million in just 3 minutes. Moreover, it was still rising. Lu Wu, who was observing from behind the scenes, was dumbfounded. As time passed, the 5-minute countdown ended quickly, and the competition began. 8 dragon boats instantly rushed out of the starting line and sped into the distance. On the shore of Liuli coast, 8 gigantic screens appeared and began to livestream the betting competition. As the players below looked at the screens, exclamations and shouts could be heard from time to time. Because they had invested soul coins, it was equivalent to pouring part of their feelings. Even just watching the competition made them feel extremely excited. As the competition progressed, the players began to cheer for the dragon boat that they supported. Since the dragon boat betting competition was held on the shore of Liuli coast, they were very familiar with the scenery and felt very immersed in it. Coupled with the lively atmosphere and the music that was playing throughout the scene, the players were once again excited. When the first round of the competition ended, the atmosphere at the scene was pushed to a climax. Some were shouting because they were happy, some were depressed because they lost their soul coins, and some just wanted to cheer. In short, the scene was chaotic. However, there were 6 rounds of the competition. The first round did not determine anything. Many players began to prepare for the second round of the betting competition and began to observe the 8 new dragon boat. The lively atmosphere lasted until 8 o'clock in the evening. The bright moon was already hanging high in the sky. It was also at this moment that the last event of the Dragon Boat Festival began. Server announcement. The final event of the Dragon Boat Festival, the battle between sweet and salty dumplings, begins. Many players had already chosen the lineup that they wanted to support on the event panel before the event began. The players had a huge difference of opinion on whether the dumplings should be sweet or salty. However, this question had been around for hundreds of years. The players had long regarded this kind of argument as a special feature of the Dragon Boat Festival. The main focus of the event was still entertainment. Although it was entertainment, the players still insisted on their own opinions on whether the dumplings should be sweet or salty. They refused to give in to each other. They all wanted to convince the players of the opposing camp that the dumplings with the taste of the dumplings were heresy and that they should quickly turn over a new leaf. At this moment, the event's live chat channel was the most lively. There were shouts of exchanging ingredients for the dumplings, and there were also shouts of persuasion. There were even some players who were more serious. They quoted the history of the dumplings and tried to convince the players of the opposing camp to quickly surrender. Faced with such serious players, the opposing camp players would basically adopt such an attitude. Don't listen, don't listen. You are heresy. No matter how you explain it, you are still heresy. Hitue. This battle between the sweet and salty dumplings even caused many guild members to start competing with each other. It even led to a few incidents that made people not know whether to laugh or cry. For example, a guild leader insisted on his own opinion. He said something like, "I am the guild leader. You all have to listen to me." Then, the guild was disbanded. For example, a couple in the game had a disagreement. They accused each other of choosing a different camp, so they started to fight. What was worse was that because of the sweet and salty dumplings, a player even stopped making dumplings. He wrote a post of over 10,000 words in an attempt to brainwash the players of the opposing camp. That day the players were extremely happy. When the bell rang at midnight, the Dragon Boat Festival officially ended. The players also let bygones be bygones and shared the dumplings that they made. In fact, when the players ate the dumplings made by the opposing camp, regardless of whether it was sweet or salty, they would still have the same thought: it's delicious. However, I will never compromise. Even if it's delicious, you are still King heresy. Chapter 413. After the official end of the Dragon Boat Festival, Lu Wu made an official post and began to compile the players' comments on the festival. Seeing the official post, a large number of players flooded into the post and began to actively comment on Lu Wu's post about their feelings towards the festival. Needless to say, the festive atmosphere of the Dragon Boat Festival made the players extremely excited. It could be said that there was a flood of good reviews. Most of the players began to request the officials to organize more such events, not just limited to the festival. However, there were also some players who began to cry in the official post, saying that they had lost all their soul coins in the Dragon Boat Festival and hoped that the officials would help them. Naturally, Lu Wu turned a blind eye to these players' cries because participation in this event was not voluntary. Moreover, he was the mastermind behind the Dragon Boat Festival, using this method to earn a large sum of soul coins. When he first decided to organize this event, Lu Wu also thought that it would be fine as long as everyone was happy during the festival. He did not want to interfere in the outcome of the competition. However, Lu Wu did not expect that due to the large number of players participating, the number of soul coins would soon reach hundreds of millions, and it was still increasing. This gave Lu Wu a fright. After all, with such a large number of soul coins, losing one round was not a big deal. At most, it would make him feel sad for a few years. However, this Dragon Boat Festival had a total of 6 rounds. If he was unlucky, Lu Wu felt that he would have to lose all his money, and it might not even be enough. Therefore, Lu Wu, who was originally prepared to watch the players celebrate, made his move. However, it was actually not easy to control the process of the competition behind the scenes, and to prevent the nearly 100 million players from noticing. However, this was not a problem for Lu Wu, who had the help of the almighty Bailey. Since he could not start with the dragon boats, he could start with the props. He let Bailey control the placement of the props in the event scene. This would allow some of the dragon boats to eat the best props, and with the help of the props they would be in the lead all the way. This was Lu Wu's behind-the-scenes manipulation method, and it was very useful. For the players, they would only feel that some of the dragon boats in this competition were particularly lucky, but they would not think otherwise. After all, to the players, this event was just for entertainment, and the soul coins used were virtual currencies that the Battle Alliance officials could create as many as they wanted. To the Battle Alliance officials, it was of no use at all. Therefore, they were very confident in the results of the competition. Most importantly, there would be players betting soul coins on every dragon boat. After every round of betting, there would be players who won and cheered. This made the other players who lost their soul coins think that they were just unlucky. Relying on the coexistence of the fake and the real, not only did Lu Wu not lose money during the Dragon Boat Festival, he even made a huge profit. On this day, Lu Wu felt that he had been blinded by money. It felt so good to have soul coins. Baiki Liuli Coast. After the Dragon Boat Festival ended, Liuli Coast's player population was no longer as dense as before. Basically, if they didn't choose to explore the sea, they would attack Baiki in the form of a small team, engaging in guerrilla warfare with the Brothers of the Nine Luminaries. However, compared to fighting with the Nine Luminaries brothers, the players were more interested in going out to sea at the current stage. The main reason for this was the new NPC, Haiyu. This NPC had recently returned to the Liuli coast, immediately attracting the attention of many players. As mentioned in the introduction, the new NPC was very knowledgeable about the sea. Many of the questions that the players did not understand about the sea could be answered by her. Recently, a few guilds had even spent a lot of soul coins to obtain information about the underwater ruins of the Void Ocean from the new NPC, Haiyu. They had already begun to organize people to explore the underwater ruins. It could be said that the existence of the Empress had aroused the players' enthusiasm for the development of the sea. This was exactly what Lu Wu wanted to see, and also one of the key reasons why Lu Wu had pulled the Empress into his camp. For the geographical location of Baiki in the underworld, the development of the forces in the sea was extremely important. Moreover, the resources in the underworld sea were incomparably rich, far more potential for development than the land, which was highly restricted. Since the current players placed too much emphasis on the development of the land, the forces in the sea had always been lacking. Even if they had a huge fleet, they still lacked the experience to fight on the sea. Therefore, the existence of the Empress was to make up for this shortcoming, so that the forces of the players in the sea could be equally strong. At the same time, at the Liuli coast, a man and a woman sat on a rock by the beach, looking at a little boy who was playing in the sand not far away. Their faces were full of helplessness. Murphy, little ball, is becoming more and more mischievous. What should we do? Little Pomelo looked at the little boy not far away and sighed helplessly. I don't have any experience either. Murphy could not help but sigh. At this moment, the two people who were distressed about their child were Murphy and little Pomelo, two members of the Baiki Wall Cheaters. The little boy who was playing in the sand not far away from them was the child that they had received as a reward for winning first place in the June 1st event. Murphy and little Pomelo were actually very surprised to be able to win first place in the June 1st event. This was because they had no experience in raising a child. During the event, they had to read the guides on the official forum and explore their way forward step by step. However, for some unknown reason, perhaps because the adopted child had a naturally optimistic personality, he was always happy. Even though they had made countless mistakes along the way, Little Ball's happiness value had always been increasing. In the end, he won first place in the June 1st event by a slight margin. And so, this child named Chiochio stayed behind. Initially, the couple was very happy to have Little Ball as a child. Both of them were still underage, and it was indeed too early for them to bear the pressure that they were not supposed to bear at their age. However, Little Ball always brought them happiness, and it also made them feel that their relationship with each other was more complete. Hence, they loved Little Ball very much and took good care of him. During this period, the couple learned from the guides on the official forum that the boy had to buy a house when he grew up. Murphy and Little Pomelo stopped exchanging soul coins for R coins because they planned to save money to buy a house in Bakey for Little Ball. However, since Bakey did not allow the purchase of individual houses at this stage, they only had one choice now, and that was to buy a guild base for Little Ball. This was undoubtedly a huge expense, and it worried the couple to no end. One must know that the purchase of a guild base was basically fought for with the strength of a guild. Although the couple was strong, their way of earning money was very simple. Basically, they still accepted hunting missions as usual. Although the income was not low, it was obviously impossible to buy a guild base in this way. At this moment, they were suddenly very envious of the guilds that had begun to do business in the Void Ocean. This was because the daily income of these guilds was extremely impressive, far from what assassins like them could compare with. However, their feelings for Little Ball were very sincere, and they really raised him as their own child. Hence, even if it was very difficult, they still wanted to buy a base for Little Ball in Bakey. However, before this problem could be solved, a new problem arose. This was because, recently, Little Ball actually wanted to learn assassination techniques from them. This made the underage couple completely dumbfounded. One must know that Little Ball was only 6 years old, and he actually wanted to learn assassination techniques. Hence, the couple decisively refused because they hoped that Little Ball would study hard, even if it was to learn life professions from Tong Gua, the Rock Ghost King, and the others. However, they were firmly against learning assassination technique. After all, assassination was too dangerous. Although Little Ball also had the ability to resurrect like them, they had completely substituted themselves into the role of parents at this time. Naturally, they did not want Little Ball to do such a high-risk profession that stained his hands with blood. However, what they did not expect was that Little Ball cried and threw a tantrum. He did not listen to their advice at all and insisted on learning. This worried the couple to death. They could not bear to hit him, and they did not listen to their advice either. They suddenly became at a loss. After all, they did not have the experience of raising a child. Although they felt that it was for Little Ball's own good, they could not say anything to lecture him. Every time Little Ball said that he wanted to learn assassination techniques, they could only imitate the parents on TV and reject him with a straight face. However, this trick was useless to their child, Little Ball. On the contrary, because of this objection, it made the child want to learn even more. "Daddy, Mommy, look at this dagger I made." At this moment, the naked Little Ball pointed at the dagger that was piled up with sand and shouted happily at Murphy and Little Pomelo. Murphy and Little Pomelo looked at each other and could not help but sigh in their hearts. What made them even more helpless was Little Ball's attribute panel at this moment. Little Ball, 6 years old, character details, reward for the first place in the June 1st event. Has complete self-awareness and extremely high growth potential. Character abilities. None, the player can train on his own or learn it as he grows. Character profession. None, the player can choose to be a berserker, an assassin, or a sorcerer. He can also learn other professions in the game. Character personality. Stubborn, optimistic character hobby. To become a better assassin than his parents' binder. Little Pomelo, seeing that the hobby in Little Ball's analysis panel had changed to assassin, Murphy and Little Pomelo were so worried that their hair turned white. How could he be so rebellious? Seeing that Murphy and Little Pomelo did not respond, Little Ball could not help but pout its mouth. Then, it trotted to the front of the two. Then, it slowly knelt in front of the two of them in shock. "Daddy, Mommy, please teach me the skills of an assassin. I will definitely become a great assassin. When your Uncle Tong Gua is resurrected, I will let you learn the skills of forging from him. How about becoming a blacksmith? Oh yes, Daddy is also a pharmacist. I can teach you how to refine medicine," Murphy said tentatively. No. I want to become a great assassin. Little Pomelo raised its head and said with a wronged expression. No way. Little Pomelo glared at it from the side. However, her rebuke did not seem to be threatening at all. Little Ball continued to look determined. There's no room for discussion. Other than being an assassin, anything else is fine. Murphy also pretended to be dignified at this time. I want to be an assassin. I will listen to Daddy and Mommy for everything else, Little Ball said stubbornly. After that, it turned around and ran to the beach. At this moment, Murphy and Little Pomelo's eyes widened. I suddenly feel like beating him up. I heard that a filial son is born from a stick. Little Pomelo said angrily. Me too. Murphy immediately echoed. However, even though they said so, they were reluctant to really take action. Since they really did not have any countermeasures, the two of them could only seek help from the idiotic netizens in the forum, hoping to find a way to deal with the naughty child. While the two of them were browsing the forum, a private Spectre ship docked and a person got off. After putting away the Spectre ship, the person stepped onto the beach. Then, he noticed Little Ball not far away. His face was suddenly filled with curiosity, and he could not help but walk over. After coming to Little Ball's side, Emo Xiaoxin asked with a smile, Little brat, what are you doing? Uncle, I'm making a dagger. Little Ball looked up and answered with a smile. Why are you making a dagger? Emo Xiaoxin was stunned. My parents don't allow me to play with daggers, so I can only make it myself. Little Ball's face showed a sad expression. It's not a big deal. I just got a white dagger. Here, take it. Emo Xiaoxin took out a dagger from the channel and handed it to Little Ball. At this moment, Little Ball's eyes lit up, and he quickly took the dagger. After carefully looking at the dagger, Little Ball bowed to Emo Xiaoxin with a smile. Thank you, Uncle. Hey, little brat, do you really want to be an assassin? Emo Xiaoxin said with a smile. Yes, I want to be the #1 assassin in the future. When Little Ball said this, he seemed particularly serious, but then his expression turned gloomy. Unfortunately, Daddy and Mommy don't allow it. What are you afraid of? Go pursue your dream. When you succeed, your parents will definitely be proud of you. Emo Xiaoxin encouraged. But Daddy and Mommy don't agree. If I were you, do you know what I would do? Emo Xiaoxin laughed mischievously. What would Uncle do? Little Ball raised his head curiously. I'd run away from home, hee. While Murphy and Little Pomelo were consulting the players on the official forum, Emo Xiaoxin, Crayon Xiaoxian, had already begun his deception, and he had successfully tricked Little Ball. So when the two of them finished their consultation and were ready to implement the method of the idiotic netizens, they were shocked to find that Little Ball had disappeared. At this moment, a few words of farewell were scrawled on the ground. However, Murphy and Little Pomelo were sure that these words were definitely not written by Little Ball. Chapter 4:14. At this moment, Murphy and Little Pomelo panicked. Although Chio could be resurrected after death, their hearts ached at the thought that Chio might be in danger outside. Hence, they quickly began to search around. While they were busy, Emo Xiaoxin had already brought Chio to the south of Beiki. Little boy, why do you want to be an assassin? Don't you know that sorcerers are the strongest? Emo Xiaoxin asked curiously while holding Chio's hand. Uncle, you must be lying to me. My parents said that sorcerers are the easiest to kill. Chio raised his head in confusion. At this moment, Emo Xiaoxin felt really awkward. He suddenly realized that this child's parents were two cheaters. In their eyes, sorcerers were indeed as easy to harvest as cabbages. Although he really wanted to challenge Chio, he thought that he was just a child and there would be no sense of accomplishment even if he won. Hence, Emo Xiaoxin gave up the idea of arguing with Chio about which class was stronger. Ahem, that's because your parents haven't met any powerful sorcerers. Your parents are just bragging. Uncle, you should be a sorcerer, right? Yeah, why? Emo Xiaoxin rubbed Qiu Qiu's head and smiled. My mom said that sorcerers nowadays are the best at bragging. Each of them says that they are her own class, but except for a few, the rest are all fragile and useless. One backstab and you can kill them. Oh yeah, Mom and Dad also said that the person they want to kill the most is called Crayon Shinchan. He's a sorcerer, so when I learn my skills, I'll help Mom and Dad kill this sorcerer. Looking at Qiu Qiu's serious expression, Emo Xiaoxin suddenly felt sad when he thought that this little guy's dream was to become an assassin and kill him. Although he knew that his bounty was very high, they could not keep thinking about him. Now, even their child was thinking about him. How could they let him live? Sadness, endless sadness. At this moment, Emo Xiaoxin knew that he had to hide himself better, or else he would definitely end up badly. However, looking at Qiu Qiu who was holding his hand, Emo Xiaoxin suddenly felt that he was digging his own grave out of habit. Thinking that this little guy might be his future opponent, Emo Xiaoxin had an idea and started bluffing again. Little guy, I think your parents are right. You shouldn't be an assassin. When Qiu Qiu heard this, it raised its head in confusion. Uncle, that's not what you said just now. You said to chase your dreams bravely. Emo Xiaoxin, what I mean is, you can change your class like a berserker. Mages need one backstab to kill, berserkers need two. Daddy said so. Qiu Qiu counted with his fingers. Emo Xiaoxin. At this moment, he finally understood why this little brat wanted to become an assassin so much. It turned out that his parents had always instilled in him that the assassin profession was invincible, that a backstab could pierce through the heavens. Nonsense, that's all made up by your parents. Berserkers are very strong, and they can even become rune masters in the later stages. They can kill an assassin with one punch. You'll definitely regret choosing to be an assassin. Emo Xiaoxin corrected him with a serious expression. At this moment, Emo Xiaoxin only had one thought in his mind, and that was to stop this child from becoming an assassin. After all, he did not stop playing battle for a while. He had to continue playing until he was old and could no longer play anymore. Moreover, he had just checked this little guy's analysis menu and found out that this little guy was extremely talented. Therefore, Emo Xiaoxin smelled danger. If he allowed him to grow, his future would be in danger. Uncle, I want to be an assassin. Qiu Qiu was unmoved. Looking at such a stubborn Qiu Qiu, Emo Xiaoxin fell into deep thought. Now, he felt that he had to think of a way to lead this child astray. Becoming a berserker was better than being an assassin. After all, an assassin who appeared and disappeared mysteriously was too dangerous. Thinking of this, Emo Xiaoxin pulled Qiu Qiu to a dense forest and sat down. He clicked on the function panel and started playing videos. These videos were basically the battle videos of Ao Jian and the others, and all of their opponents were assassins. Of course, these assassins were naturally defeated. Emo Xiaoxin wanted to use this method to instill in Qiu Qiu the concept that assassins were trash. After a while, Emo Xiaoxin turned off the video and looked at Qiu Qiu with a smile. How is it? Uncle didn't lie to you, right? Are assassins very weak? No, I think those assassins are too weak, Qiu Qiu said with a serious face. At this moment, the smile on Emo Xiaoxin's face instantly froze. You really don't want to reconsider? Uncle, I only want to be an assassin. I don't want to consider other professions, Qiu Qiu said seriously. Hearing this, Emo Xiaoxin realized that this little guy seemed to have decided that he was an assassin. He could no longer change his mind. This made him very worried. Initially, he had tricked Qiu Qiu into coming out because he wanted to take a stroll around the area before sending him back. It was considered as revenge for Murphy and little Pomelo's persistent search and pursuit. However, he did not expect their child to be a hidden threat. Therefore, at this moment, Emo Xiaoxin had a new idea. He had to trick Qiu Qiu and not create a potential threat for himself. This was because he knew that if he was really assassinated, the consequences would be terrible. As long as his identity was confirmed, the follow-up pursuit would definitely be overwhelming. That was because he had more enemies than he only had countless enemies in Beiki and was known as the Great Devil King, but at least he could run to other servers to pass his days. However, he was different. He mingled in the forum and fought against all the players in the forum of the 4 main servers. All the servers had players who hated him to the core. Therefore, there was no place for him in the 4 existing servers. Thinking of this, Mo Xiaoxin could not help but shiver. This was really scary. However, it was impossible not to be stubborn. Only by being stubborn every day and making others flustered and exasperated could one live a happy life. Thinking of this, Mo Xiaoxin turned to look at Qiuqiu again. Now, he had to kill this extremely talented threat. Little guy, you're great. You have a firm mind, so I've decided to tell you a secret. What secret? Qiuqiu raised his head and asked with interest. Do you know what the strongest skill of an assassin is? Mo Xiaoxin said with a mysterious smile on his face. Backstab. Qiuqiu answered without hesitation. Mo Xiaoxin was speechless. This kid can't be left alive. At this moment, Mo Xiaoxin was very sad. How did he teach him to backstab others at such a young age? Wrong, backstab is just a very common skill of an assassin. There's a skill that's 100 times, no, 10,000 times stronger than backstab. Do you know what it is? Crayon Shinchan said patiently. What is it? Qiuqiu asked eagerly. Naraka Realm 3rd, Prajna Scarification. What's that? Qiuqiu tilted his head and asked in confusion. Mo Xiaoxin could see that the content of his words had aroused the interest of this kid. He could not help but smile. His current idea was very simple. He wanted this kid to learn the most difficult skill. He believed that this kid was only interested for a while and would probably lose interest after suffering a setback. The hardest skill to learn among assassins was undoubtedly the Naraka Realm 3rd, Prajna Scarification. Until now, no assassin player in the whole of Beiki had learned this powerful skill. Thinking of this, Mo Xiaoxin clicked on the function panel again and played a video. The content of the video was the scene when the assassin class changed to the Cursed Apostle. Seeing that the content of the video was related to assassins, Qiuqiu suddenly became energetic and began to stare at the screen. As time passed, the moment the Prajna Scarification appeared in the video, Mo Xiaoxin quickly said, "This is it, watch carefully." In the video, a golden Buddha descended and locked on the target, the berserker, who was bound to the spot and unable to move. At this time, the assassin player in the video raised his dagger and began to attack himself. Naraka Realm 3rd, Prajna Scarification, Extreme. One of the 3 ultimate paths, the power of the Prajna Devil, lasts for 1 minute. During this period, the selected target can be controlled and entered a binding state. At the same time, any damage done to the user will be reduced by 85%. The selected target will bear this part of the damage. A loud Buddha's voice resounded in the surroundings, and a huge swastika symbol shone brightly at the back of the assassin's head. All the damage he caused to himself turned into golden words that wrapped around the target berserker, continuously causing damage. At the end of the video, the berserker was killed by the assassin who performed the Prajna Scarification. At this time, Mo Xiaoxin turned off the video and said, "How is it? How does it feel? It's so strong. I want to learn it." Qiuqiu exclaimed excitedly. Do you know that if you want to become the strongest assassin, you have to learn this move first? Only by starting from the hardest can you become the strongest assassin, not by starting from the easiest. Knowing that the little brat had taken the bait, Mo Xiaoxin continued to guide him. So, an assassin has to start from the hardest one. That's right. Are you confident? I believe you can learn the Prajna Scarification. Mo Xiaoxin continued. Uncle, thank you. I will learn the Prajna Scarification. I must start from the hardest one and become the strongest assassin in the future. Chiu-Chiu nodded with a serious expression. Sigh, good boy, good boy. As he said that, Emo Xiaoxin rubbed Chiu-Chiu's head happily. He felt that the danger in the future had been snuffed out just like that. He was indeed quick-witted. As for whether Chiu-Chiu could learn the prajna scarification, Emo Xiaoxin was not worried at all because even Murphy and little Pomelo, who were the most talented assassins, could not learn it. How could this little kid do it? But uncle, how should I learn it? Daddy and mommy definitely won't teach me. At that moment, Chiu-Chiu lowered his head sadly. Don't be afraid, uncle will teach you. But this is our little secret, you can't tell anyone. Okay. Hearing that Emo Xiaoxin was willing to teach him, Chiu-Chiu nodded excitedly. Then, while Chiu-Chiu was still excited, Emo Xiaoxin opened the forum and began to look for the posts of assassin players studying the prajna scarification. He then read the contents of the posts to Chiu-Chiu. A few hours later, little fart. Chiu-Chiu, do you remember? Yes, I remember. I will use these methods to learn. Chiu-Chiu nodded confidently. Alright, I'll send you back now. But remember, don't ever tell anyone about our little secret. Also, don't tell your parents about me. Otherwise, they'll definitely stop you from becoming the most powerful assassin. Emo Xiaoxin couldn't help but say as he prepared to send Chiu-Chiu back. Don't worry, uncle. This is our little secret. Chiu-Chiu promised seriously. Sigh, good boy, at the Liuli coast. They had been searching for a few hours. Just when Murphy and little Pomelo were about to break down, Chiu-Chiu suddenly appeared in their sight. At that moment, both of them hurriedly ran towards Chiu-Chiu. Chiu-Chiu was also very happy to see his parents again. With a smile on his face, he also ran towards Murphy and little Pomelo. Then, in front of Chiu-Chiu's stunned expression, he was pressed to the ground and was ruthlessly beaten. It was late at night, and Chiu-Chiu's loud cries could be heard from the beach when he was beaten. It was an exciting mixed doubles. Chapter 4:15. Yes, that's right, it was courting death. However, since no player had ever succeeded, this death collection was gradually abandoned by the assassin players. At this moment, both little Pomelo and Murphy wanted to know who had turned Little Ball into such a state. A moment later, Uncle, I'm going to cast it again. Little Ball's voice was heard again. Emo Xiaoxin nodded excitedly upon hearing it. On this day, Murphy and little Pomelo had to go offline because they had something to deal with in real life. However, before they left, they warned Little Ball fiercely to stay put and not to run around. After hesitating for a few minutes, Little Ball suddenly squatted on the ground like a deflated balloon. He looked at little Pomelo with a pitiful expression, then he shifted his gaze to Murphy with an innocent expression. At first, Murphy and little Pomelo thought that Little Ball was careless and dangerous, but gradually they did not think so, because Little Ball's way of courting death was getting more and more unbridled, and it could even be said to be unscrupulous. Yes, Little Ball knows his mistake. Little Ball nodded with a sincere expression. If possible, they wanted to repay the kind-hearted person with 10,000 backstabs. Little Ball, tell me, who was the one who took you away, and what did he say to you? Little Pomelo continued to ask. This was the nth time Little Ball had admitted his mistake recently, but he still refused to mend his ways. He still had the attitude of, I was wrong, but I still dare to admit it. Although it sounded unreliable, because of the great charm of the prajna scarification, basically all assassin players had tried it. Just like that, a week passed in torment for Murphy and little Pomelo. Liar, did you write those words on the beach before you left? Little Pomelo asked angrily. They had heard this so many times that they did not believe a single punctuation. However, Little Ball's thoughts were completely different. At this moment, the young couple was staring at Little Ball who was standing on the beach. Mom, I wrote it. When Little Ball said this, he looked extremely guilty, and his voice was trembling. In the introduction of the prajna scarification, it had to be comprehended between life and death. Hit it, scolded it, But the brat Chiu Chiu's stubborn nature did not change. After knowing that he had to start learning the hardest skill to become the strongest assassin, Chiu Chiu only had one thought, and that was to learn this powerful ability. Sigh, what a good seedling. It seems like he will only be a berserker in the future. This makes me feel inexplicably happy. Okay, I'm ready. Recently, Murphy and little Pomelo had been very worried. Of course, Chiu Chiu was very clear that his parents would definitely not let him learn, so he began to self-study. However, after his parents left, Chiu Chiu once again began to think of ways to kill himself. Hearing this, Chiu Chiu's expression immediately became extremely nervous. At the same time, the promise he had made to that uncle surfaced in his mind. At that moment, a ghost ship docked from afar, and a person got off the ship. At this moment, Murphy and little Pomelo were even more worried. Holy sh*t. Hearing this, Chiu Chiu's face turned red, and he was at a loss. Mo Xiaoxin turned his head with a dumbfounded look, but he was horrified to find that a golden Buddha shadow was slowly emerging behind Chiu Chiu, and it was constantly expanding. The most worrying point was that Chiu Chiu seemed to have been courting death recently. In fact, Chiu Chiu's recent changes were due to Mo Xiaoxin. His self-study method was very simple, and that was to try the 1000 Ways to Learn the Prajna Scarification Forum secret book provided by Mo Xiaoxin. Ouch! Chiu Chiu suddenly bumped into little Pomelo's arms. At that moment, Chiu Chiu suddenly clenched his fists, and his little face turned red. Then, he stared at Crayon Shinchan and began to exert force. Thinking of this, little Pomelo looked at Chiu Chiu with a serious face and asked, "Mom, I just want to touch this stone." Chiu Chiu rubbed his head, and his big eyes were shining with sincerity, as if saying that he was absolutely not lying. At this moment, they were very confused about what Chiu Chiu had experienced during the time when he left home, and how did he become like this. He persistently walked on the path of seeking death, and never looked back. Seeing Chiu Chiu, Mo Xiaoxin was shocked, and he quickly began to look around vigilantly. Therefore, understanding the true meaning of prajna scarification in the midst of death was the consensus of all assassin players. "Come, write it again for me to see," little Pomelo said with a straight face. Just as they expected, after hesitating for a while, Chiu Chiu suddenly plucked up his courage and crashed into the big stone. Since the official battle campaign only provided a very vague concept on how to learn prajna scarification, the players could only explore by themselves, and there was no systematic way to learn it. "I see." Mo Xiaoxin suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and calmly rubbed Chiu Chiu's head. For example, drowning, suffocating, tripping, and so on, a series of bizarre behaviors emerged one after another. He was afraid that he would suddenly stab himself in the back. In fact, these learning methods of prajna scarification that were integrated by the players had a very vivid name in the forum, and that was 1000 Ways to Die. At this moment, little Pomelo, who was already well prepared, moved in front of Chiu Chiu in a flash, and blocked his way. However, Mo Xiaoxin's smile soon disappeared, because the game notification of being attacked rang in his mind. "Little guy, how's your learning recently?" Chiu Chiu. Chiu Chiu, tell me, where did you go when you ran away from home? Did you meet anyone? Chiu Chiu, you want to get beaten up again? Little Pomelo squatted down and stared straight at Chiu Chiu, her eyes filled with anger. "They went to do something, and they won't be back for a while," Chiu Chiu answered obediently. However, little Pomelo and Murphy still looked very serious. That was because he noticed that his parents were getting more and more violent. If he did not admit defeat, he would definitely get beaten up, and it would be the most brutal mixed doubles. Thinking of this, Mo Xiaoxin grinned. Upon hearing this, Crayon Shinchan smiled and nodded, but in his heart, he did not care. That was because they realized that Chiu Chiu seemed to have changed into a different person ever since he returned from running away from home. He became very well behaved, and he did not mention anything about becoming an assassin anymore. In his opinion, since this little fellow was already cultivating seriously, it wouldn't be long before he gave up after failing a few more times. Really? Chiyo answered excitedly. Daddy, Mommy, don't beat me up, I will be very good. At this moment, Chiyo was instantly terrified. Especially his back. Upon seeing this, little Pomelo and Murphy looked at each other and decisively began a strict interrogation. This set of learning method, prajna scarification, that the players concluded, was also an extension of death as the foundation. I also realize that he really wants to hit the rock, Murphy answered with a solemn expression. Looking at the sand below, Chiyo's face turned red, and his hand that was holding the branch was trembling. Although he really wanted to write at this moment, he really did not know how to. And that was exactly what Mo Xiaoxin saw. Right. Little Pomelo took the branch from Murphy and passed it to Chiyo. Then, she quickly ran to the opposite side of Mo Xiaoxin and shouted at him. Right? However, there was one thing that all assassin players were very clear about. Uncle, I'm going to use it. Murphy, I think Chiyo wants to hit the rock. Little Pomelo said nervously. Upon hearing this, Mo Xiaoxin smiled without turning his head. Then show me what you have learned, and I will give you some pointers. So, Chiyo began to practice in secret, which was what Murphy and little Pomelo thought was courting death. Well, Uncle, I feel something, but I can't describe it. In short, it's very strange. It feels like I understand, but it also feels like I don't understand. Future Threat -1 However, this kind of obedience was not what they wanted. However, this time, Chiyo did not speak. He lowered his head and fell into silence. Why is this child so disobedient? We have to do this. Use your head to touch it? At this time, Murphy also appeared at the side. Chiyo, where are your parents? Mo Xiaoxin asked nervously. Hearing this, Chiyo nodded his head vigorously. Although this filial son had been beaten into shape, Chiyo's change seemed to be a little too much. It was a little unbelievable and even fake. Mom, I just went out for a walk. I didn't meet anyone, Chiyo answered nervously. Seeing this person, Chiyo's face suddenly lit up and he quickly ran over. However, what surprised them was that Chiyo refused to tell them who the person who took him away was. Even force could not make him yield. Mo Xiaoxin was very satisfied at this moment. He was giving pointers while browsing through the posts and drinking at the same time. It's true. Uncle would never lie to you. This is a sign that you are about to succeed in your practice. However, you have to be more serious. When you use prajna scarification, you need to put your heart and soul into it. Also, your eyes must be cold, don't carry too much emotion. Really? Little Pomelo looked at him in disbelief. After a round of mixed doubles, looking at Chiyo who was wailing loudly, little Pomelo's heart softened again. She quickly took out some snacks from the channel, and began to coax the child. Uncle, why are you here? Chiyo listened to Mo Xiaoxin's random pointers very seriously, nodding his head from time to time. Game notification. You have been locked by the skill prajna scarification, performed by Chiyo. You are unable to move. The Prajna Devil Buddha is recovering, please take note. This was because he had to keep a close eye on this mischievous child. If he did not look at him for even a moment, he might already be thinking of ways to kill himself. However, such days were tough for little Pomelo and Murphy. On the other hand, Chiyo was staring at a big rock on the beach with a solemn expression. He looked like he was ready to make a move. From Chiyo's point of view, this was the treasure to cultivate the strongest skill of an assassin. As long as he practiced according to the method written on it, he would definitely succeed. Chiyo obediently agreed to his parents' advice. As someone who frequented the forums, he had personally witnessed the ridicule and disdain of many assassin players towards this compilation, so he clearly knew that the death compilation was a very unreliable training method. There was absolutely no chance of success, so he was relieved to teach this secret manual to Chiyo. "Uncle, do you feel anything?" Hearing this, Chiyo was dumbfounded because he did not know how to write at all. Initially, they planned to follow the idiotic netizen's method of, a filial son emerges from under the rod, to make Chiyo turn over a new leaf. The cultivation is a little effective. Mo Xiaoxin took out a can of drink and took a sip before replying perfunctorily. Hearing this, Mo Xiaoxin smiled with relief. Moreover, even if he made a mistake and got beaten up every time, Chiyo did not give up. He wanted to cultivate successfully and proudly tell his parents that he was already the most talented assassin